everybody, ReefGrrl here, and welcome to ReefGrrl Live. I'm so glad you could make it. The whole idea here is to have some fun, chat, ask a few questions, maybe show us what you're doing, and get to know each other a little bit better. So sit back, relax, grab a drink. The stream is about to begin. Hey everybody, glad you could make it tonight. You'll notice I have a little bit different background, and it's because we're working in the fish room now, getting the lights mounted, and it was really hard to set everything up the way I wanted it. So I moved into the living room and kind of threw blankets over a few things so it wouldn't look so weird and distracting. So yeah, we're in here tonight. Please let me know if the sound is bothersome, because I'm using the computer's microphone and I don't know whether it's picking up things like that. I just dropped my mouse on the tabletop. So please let me know if that kind of stuff is happening, and I'll do my best to stay absolutely still. So we have a whole bunch of people in here already. So let me say hi. Tony Close, UK Reef, you're first again. Welcome. There's Benny, Filipino reefer. Benny, I hope your last day or two has gone well. I know stuff's going on. Hi, Richard Jones. Who else is down the road? Everybody's talking to each other. Oh, hey, Terrence Little Ocean. Glad you could make it. And there's David L. and Waterhouse Jason. All right, I think that's everybody who's commented. There's a bunch more of you watching. We've got 11 already, so that's pretty awesome. Oh, there's Phil, Reef Keeper. Cindy and everyone in the chat. Room looks great. Love the new light rack with the dipped coated hooks. Thanks. I do have a picture of that. I don't think I put it on Instagram. I didn't upload it to here. I do have a couple pictures of other things that I've been up to this week. Rude Boy Reefer Evolution. Thank you. Thanks for the feedback. But please do let me know. I have a habit of doing things like rubbing my fingers together when I'm talking, and I'm trying really hard not to do that stuff. So it's been quite a week. I've gotten started moving corals from the holding tank over to the 150-gallon stock tank. And the next thing that needs to be moved over is really heavy. And we're looking at ways of getting it out of, it's the back half of mollywood. And I don't know if you watched my video about moving mollywood, but that's the one I had to get my husband to lift up, because I bet you it weighs 50 pounds soaking wet, or 60. I don't know. It's really heavy. And so we're trying to come up with a way using strapping and a dowel. I don't know what we're going to do yet. We'll see, because it doesn't help that the mollywood stand is quite high and the top rim of mollywood is about 5 feet off the ground. So you have to be standing up on something to even get your hands in there. So that's going to be this week's excitement, I think. The water parameters have turned out to be really good, and that's why I'm moving things over, because the things that I did move over have responded really well. So super encouraging for me. Angeli Sotamba, hi, how are you? The Herm 14, how are you doing, ReefGrrl? How are you doing, Herm? Okay, so why don't I show you a couple pictures of the stuff that's been going on. I know I put them in here. Okay, first of all. So I did this. I swapped this out. Yeah, whole bunch of ugly. This has been running for, I think, 2 weeks, maybe. Not quite. And even though there's only one fish in the system now, it's only been in there for a couple days. I'll tell you about that in a minute. But this is what the filter looks like. And it's probably because I've been feeding in order to get the nutrients up, because they've been so low. 0 reading of phosphate, and using the Hanna ultra low, it was 0.005. So that's why I've been adding extra food, and this is where it's ended up. And then the next picture is of salt creep. So this is the overflow, the double bulkhead overflow in the trash can, and those little streams of water throw up an incredible amount of splash, obviously, because it's all over here. So I have to come up with a way to get this cleaned regularly, maybe a squirt bottle with RODI water once a day, just to keep it under control because I don't know, it looks terrible, and I'm hoping I can keep it at least looking half decent. See, we got more comments here. Don't want to get behind with the comments. Oh, Angeli Sotamba. I love your tank. I did use the Miracle Mud and it works very good. That's great to hear. I have Miracle Mud. Oh, that's good. At least you know the floss is catching crud in the setup. Oh, yeah. I do have Miracle Mud that I'm going to be putting in the new tank. And actually, that'll be going in the sump area probably in the next couple of weeks so that it can get seeded. And yeah, Phil, that was the hardest thing to decide was how to handle the overflow situation. That trash can is probably almost ideal to set up a filter roller. And I might do that down the road someday. But for now, I'm just going to do the manual thing with all of the filter floss and just see how that goes. So yeah, it's quite surprising when I didn't look after a week and that's what I saw. So what else have I got to show you? Yeah, oh, and here are, well, let me show you a short video first of the things that I brought over with me. And here's what they look like a couple hours ago when I took the video. Well, here's what I've brought over so far from the holding tank. And they're in this 150-gallon stock tank with the Kessel AP700 mounted above them. This is where everything is going gradually. You can see there's algae growing on the bottom here. And these are all the corals that I've brought over in the past week. Last night I brought the Duncan, the fox coral, and the candy cane. And everything in here is doing remarkably well, including the torches. Yeah, I got 3 frags. One of them has 2 heads. And I'm hoping that they all survive. Step 1. Yeah, and I'm always nervous before I move coral because, of course, you just don't know when there's going to be a disaster, and it always goes better than I thought. The only thing that happened is I did not take enough fresh salt water with me, new salt water, to replace the salt water that I had to take out to fill my containers. And part of that was, once again, I forgot about displacement. The amount of salt water, the amount of drop in the level of salt water when you remove a large rock or even 5 or 6 large corals. So that's something I have to do a little better at. This week, I will fill up a 5-gallon bottle of water, those big round water bottle things, and instead of just half filling it. And because I also have to top up the holding tank because that's where I stole the water to put in Mollywood so that I could get it running again. Because of course it's an all-in-one, and unless the water level's high enough, you can't run the pump. So learning experience, and I did not film it and I didn't document it because I think because I'm nervous about it and I couldn't find a good place to set up the tripod, and there's lots of reflections and I needed the light on to see what I was doing. So no documentation of that. Maybe next time. Maybe there won't be a next time, I hope. Anyway, enough of that blathering. I like that idea. Large filter roller, something bigger than a standard clear or Clara C. Yeah, I think what always sort of concerned me about having a filter roller in a sump was the potential for live things to go down in the filter roller. And not that that really ever happened much, maybe twice in the Red Sea where I would end up with some sort of like a snail down there. Who knows how? Molly babies would end up down there. So in a filter roller, they would just have no chance of survival because of being pounded by the water. So, and then rolled up. I don't know. I'll have to think about it. The Herm, I made that mistake my first tank transfer. I learned, oh yeah, you try and think of everything, but it just never fails. There's always something. So I don't know if we'll have any guests in here tonight, but I know some of you have things going on. I know Taryn's got some new clownfish. Taryn's becoming quite the clownfish collector, and it's really cool to see, Taryn, what you're doing with putting them together and pairing them up and all that kind of thing. It'd be really cool to see where you've got them. Have you bought any new tanks for them? Are you putting 4 in one tank? Curious to know what you're doing there. LOL, I can come on. Oh, that'd be great. If you can, I'm pretty sure I emailed the link. I have a list of all of the guests that have come on, and every week I send everyone the email to invite them back if they have time and they're interested. So you are on top of your system, so replacing a pad once in a while is not that big of a deal, quick and easy. Yeah, I did do a short video of doing that. I didn't get a chance to edit it because there was some sort of messing around with trying to figure out how to get that thing out of there. So it was really easy, because the trash can has a lid. Take the lid, hold it, like flip it over, and I just picked up the filter floss. I actually had my husband holding the lid because I wasn't sure how it was going to go, how heavy it would be. And I just picked up the filter floss, folded it in half, slid it over onto the lid, and got the new piece, put it back with a little sponge underneath to make a hump, put the hose back, and it was done. I had all the flow off because actually we're having a scheduled power outage overnight between 5 a.m. and 7 a.m. So we dug out the battery backup. We have 2 because one, the battery basically ended, the life ended, and we bought a replacement battery. But we weren't sure the replacement battery would work, so we bought a new one. So now we have 2. Long story. So I took the second one, got it downstairs, plugged it in, and I plugged the pump and the Inkbird into it because the Inkbird will tell the circulating pump when to circulate the water from the water heater. And of course, as long as the pump is on, there will be water flow throughout the whole system. Not ideal for the corals that are in the large tank, but it's only going to be for a couple of hours and the water will be moving. And I did not plug the heater in because it's a 1500 watt heater, and we felt pretty confident, or we feel pretty confident, that the water that's in the tank will stay at a reasonable temperature for the couple of hours that the power is off. So we're going to see how that goes and what happens with the 2-hour power outage, whether the battery backup lasts that long, given that the Grundfos circulating pump only takes, I think it's 0.74 amps of power to run, and it wouldn't be running all the time if it came on at all. And the Inkbird, I'm not sure how much power that requires, but it can't be very much. And the Jabo DCS 7000 at the lowest setting possible, it's a 100 watt pump, lowest setting possible, maybe 10 watts. So we'll see. It could conceivably last the whole time. I have had that thing last an hour and a half on the Red Sea tank, running the return pump, 2 heaters, and 2 power heads. So it'll be interesting to see. It'll be a great test. And then the second power outage is going to be in a couple of weeks. They're upgrading some subsystem over here on April the 10th, I think, and it'll be 5 hours. I think it's 2 a.m. to 7 a.m. So for that, we're pulling out the generator and we're going to set it on the back of the house here. Right beside me is a window, and outside that is a patio. No cement yet. It's all mud because it's a new house. And set the generator out there, run the extension cord along the side of the house and in the window into the sump room. We have a 3-prong GFCI heavy-duty 18-inch extension cord that can get plugged into the generator cord, and we can plug in the heater, the Inkbird, which has the circulating pump, and the pump. And we'll see what happens there, because that's going to be long enough to cause some concerns in the system, maybe with temperature. So we'll see. It's a great opportunity to test these things out when we know ahead of time and we can just see what happens. So yeah. Hey, Jessica J. Nice to see you. Brain surgery boy. Oh, Scott Morrison from Bridge. Oh, okay. Well, Scott, hope you're doing okay. Unless you do brain surgery, in which case, good for you. Hey, Broke Reef Man 45. Angeli, are you dosing? If yes, with what? That will help me. Thank you. I am dosing right now because I've just set up a new system. It's in its early stages of tweaking. And on my Red Sea tank, I use the balling light method. I actually have a couple of videos on dosing that might help you if you're just starting out. They're called the Tao of Dosing, and they're on my channel. There's part 1 and part 2. Part 1 involves the equipment, why to dose, what the equipment is, how to set it up. And part 2 involves the process of going through and figuring out how much you need and all of the sort of my philosophy around it. I'll just put the title up here in a banner for you. Let me see, create a banner. These videos are quite old. They would be from the summer of 2017. There we go. And I'm going to bring Taryn in. Wait till I turn my streamer thing back on because I've been talking so long that it doesn't understand that there isn't any real sound coming in. There she is.
Hello, how are you, Cindy?
I'm doing well, thanks. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing good.
Good.
Lots of stuff going on. I haven't been in a while, but um, yeah, so I've got a few new fish actually since I've last been on the stream, probably like six, but
I know. I've seen all of this on Instagram. If anybody is interested, Taryn is on Instagram. I think your name is Taryn's Little Ocean, right?
yeah,
On Instagram?
it's the same, Terrence Little
Yeah,
Ocean.
yeah. Go check it out. It's really interesting. And hey, Johnny Martinez. Hi, Reef Girl and fellow reefers. Had my last radiation treatments yesterday. Oh, good.
That's
Well,
awesome, Johnny.
yeah. Thank you, Chancellor, for your prayers and all your reefers. Drink, snack, sleeping bag. That's cool. Well,
That's awesome.
glad you could make time for us, Johnny. That's awesome. So tell me what's been going on.
Okay, so I think the last I was on is when I introduced my gold nugget and my lightning. So that was, I think, the end of December, beginning of January, maybe.
Oh, was it that long ago?
Yeah,
Wow.
like I got them December 31st. So yeah, that maybe was the last time I was actually on. So they were getting along for quite a long time, and then I mean she's pretty aggressive. So I couldn't find him one night, like before I was going to bed, and I was like, oh, is he hiding in the rocks? And then of course I couldn't sleep because I'm like, where is he? And so I tore apart all my rocks and everything, and I found him hiding in a crevice, but he had some, like, she must have decided that she didn't want to be with him anymore, and he had a little bit of like torn up fin. So
Oh,
I put this divider in here.
right.
So anyways, he completely healed in a week. He was totally fine. I did
Hmm.
try to reintroduce them, but she just she wasn't having it. And now I'm like attached to the little guy because he was a little bit beat up and now he's like doing great. So I was like, I don't want to chance him again. And so he's over here. He's in the back. You probably can't really see him.
Oh, I can see him. He's
Yeah.
over to the left. Yeah.
Yeah, he kind of hosts that corner over there, but he's pretty docile for a maroon, but she is not. So,
Mm.
anyways, I ended up getting her an anemone, which she hosted in. I got so lucky. 3 days. I
Oh
put it
boy.
in there, and then she went in it. So, um, so yeah, so she's been kind of doing her thing. Thank you, Benny. I don't know if it looks fire or not, but like I got a tiny bit of bubble algae, my own fault, because I brought some stuff over from my tank upstairs, but I'm not too stressed about it. But yeah, so she kind of beat him up, so he's on this side. I wanted to get him a new mate, so this is the little guy I got yesterday. It's a snowflake
Oh
maroon.
boy,
It's
cute.
super tiny. I want to say it's like less than an inch.
Hmm.
So they're super tiny. I got another one that I'm going to try to put with her.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how well it's going to go over or not, but I have other options to move it if it doesn't go well. I kind of don't think it's going to because she's pretty aggressive. I did
Hmm.
have her in the breeder box and had the little guy out in the tank.
Hmm.
And she kind of really, I had her in there just for like a day and a half. She really calmed down. So I'm like, okay, I'll try them together. They got along for a few minutes, but then she started chasing him. And I mean, he's pretty small.
Yeah.
So he's getting kind of tired out. So um, I'm not sure. I might just move him. I have another tank that I have separated. So I might just move him in there until he gets a little
Hmm.
bigger. Probably. Who knows? I think she's
Yeah.
destined to be single, but
Well, look at Charbuckle with Big Mama.
I know. And like she took to that other, like, I remember the one post he was like, because he has another little clown in there, and he's like, if anybody can get along, these two can. So I don't know. Maybe there's hope for her. I'm eventually gonna move these guys. I mean, right, like this is just a small tank, but they're also super tiny. There's like
Oh
not
yeah.
much of a bio load. Like they're only like 3/4 of an inch. She's
Yeah.
maybe like an inch and a half, but um yeah, so that's kind of going on with these two right now. And then in my tank upstairs, my family's just watching TV upstairs, so I won't go up there. But in my in my
Yeah.
tank up, sorry, go ahead.
Well, my husband's usually in this room where I am, and tonight he's going downstairs to watch TV instead of being up here. Because usually I'm down the hall at the front of the house, but yeah.
So you evicted him. I kind of thought about that. I was like, are you gonna watch TV up here? But then I was like, oh, I'll just like show my other tank downstairs, even
Yeah.
though there's not much going on down here. But I mean, I brought a couple mushrooms down. I'm gonna bring some GSP down because I fragged some of, well, cut it. I wouldn't really call it fragging because it was super easy, but I'm gonna bring some of that downstairs, and then but I'm really just planning on putting a bunch of anemones in here anyway. So um, that's kind of my plan with this tank. But overall, like for a small tank, I haven't had like any issues with keeping it stable or any, like I have a little bit of bubble algae, but that's my own fault.
Hmm.
From just, I guess the spores or whatever. I think I just used equipment between the two tanks, and then mind you, my
Yeah, it's
tank upstairs is almost gone of it. So I don't
yeah,
know.
it's everywhere. It's really hard, but you know, the thing is if you kind of try to get it out as much as you can, eventually
Go
it
away.
won't be able. Yeah, it's not. The mistake I made was thinking that it was too much of a pain in the neck to take it out of my 29. And I had red bubble algae, and that stuff hangs on even tighter than green. You know how green comes up in big clumps? Well,
Yeah.
the red stuff doesn't. It's got really wiry roots. And so it was such a pain to get in there and clean it. I just left it, and big mistake because it did not take long. It just took over everything.
Yeah, my tank upstairs, I just every water change. Well, I didn't really have a ton of it on the rocks. It was mostly on the back of the back wall of the BioCube. But every water change, I would just start like picking it up, and then when I turn my pumps back on, I would just use like a fish net and just kind of keep scooping it out as it was blowing around.
Yeah.
And now I have like really minimal amount up there, which
Yeah.
is great. So, I mean, these are kind of big bubbles. I could probably just pick them out too.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, it's too bad we're not in the US because Fish of Hex came up with a bubble algae removal tool, and it's a sharply pointed tube with a siphon hose attached. So what you do is you get the siphon started, and then you use the sharp point to pick at the bubble algae, and it goes right up the tube.
I saw that. I was thinking,
Yeah,
so I usually like I use my siphon. I kind of like use a turkey baster to kind of knock it off, or sometimes if it's really stuck on, I just use my long handle um, algae scraper and kind of scraped it off. But because my siphon has like the guard so that fish can't go down, it
yeah.
doesn't work as well. But I saw that and I was like, what a great idea.
Oh
right?
yeah. Oh hey, Randall's Reef, welcome. Broke Reef Man said when he had maroons with bubble tips, the maroons beat them up or loved them nearly to death.
I was worried about this because this girl, like when she first went in it, I was like, okay, like this is awesome, but she's like so aggressive in it. It seems like it's doing okay, but I'm going to get a couple more. Just hopefully she can like spread the love. It
Right.
hasn't closed up on her or anything, but she definitely gets pretty like aggressively loving it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And Filipino Reefer says a toothpick works with the bubble algae.
Oh, like to just dislodge it?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
can. You know those really pointy cocktail toothpicks you can get?
Oh
I
yeah,
bet you
yeah.
that would work. Um, Johnny Martinez, are those rocks from Tampa Bay Live Rocks? They look great. We're in Canada, Johnny.
Yeah.
I
Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say I don't think you can get those up here because I don't think they let them across the border.
These were actually I got these from Big Al's in Canada, and now I can't remember the name of them, but they were actually just a completely dry rock,
Yeah.
and I already have Coraline on them, and I only started this tank in December. So I mean I did start it with most of the water from my other tank and brought some stuff over from there, but
Yeah.
yeah, they were just dry rock, but they have some. If I was doing corals, they have some like really nice crevices in them.
Hmm.
Um, I think if I'm going to keep it separated for a while, I might take that second big rock out just because I had a little bit of a problem. I have a tiny bit of cyano in here just because of the flow issue with the divider.
Yeah.
But I added another little pump. This is actually just like a high door. I think it's like 180 gallons per hour just because these guys are so tiny. I didn't want them getting blown around, but it was only
Yeah.
like $30 on Amazon. But
Wow.
other than it's a tiny bit noisy, it's really, really a cute little, because I was looking for something that wasn't going to be too much flow. It's actually pretty decent. You can adjust the flow with the little bottom thing on the red. It just changes the opening for the intake. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
but yeah.
Oh, hey, Scott Morrison, how's Fish of Hex on your channel? I like his wild ways. We had a really good conversation, and I don't know if you guys saw Fish of Hex video recently about the death of the Fish of Hex persona. You should watch it. It's pretty interesting, and I'm hoping to invite him back because it was a really good conversation, and I think he's such a knowledgeable guy and entertaining even without being wild and crazy with the language. So yeah, it was great. I really, really enjoyed it. Hey, Robert Poorman. Johnny Martinez forgot we're in Canada. And Reef Keeper says the little bent tube that comes with Aptasia X works great for removing bubble algae. He zip ties it to a hose to siphon out. Yeah, because that thing's almost like a bent tip syringe type thing. So the algae wouldn't go into that tip, but if you had a hose nearby that was siphoning, I bet it would get drawn right up.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
I actually found a couple Aptasias in my tank upstairs. So I was just thinking about what I'm going to do about that. If I'm going to do the Aptasia X or
Mm-hmm.
do
Yep.
lemon juice, or I'm not really sure. I haven't looked too much into it, but I
Yeah.
found two and they're kind of look big. Like I didn't see them at all, and I'm like, wow, where'd that come from? But who
Well,
knows?
peppermint shrimp have always worked for me.
Yeah.
And I still have, out of 3 peppermint shrimp I put in Mollywood a year ago, I still have 2.
Wow.
So, you know, they once they are finished with eating up the Aptasia, and it was literally 3 days. It took them a day or 2, and then I noticed the clumps of Aptasia started disappearing. They came in on frags that came from a coral show with zoanthids on them. And all of a sudden I noticed, you know, that telltale little tiny web of beige tentacles. And so I made the zoas close up and I looked again with a magnifying glass, and sure enough, that's what it was. So
Now,
yeah,
did
but
the
peppermint shrimp.
and they can coexist easily. Like I just have a cleaner shrimp upstairs, but I'm sure it wouldn't be a
Hmm. Hmm.
problem having them
It's
together.
yeah, it's fine. I have a fire shrimp in Mollywood with them.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I like
So
them too.
he's fine. Yeah, yeah. It's going to be interesting moving them over to this 150. I don't know. Geez, Taryn, you and I may have to message, because I'm quite happy to give them to you if you want them, because
Oh,
I'm I'm concerned about their ability to live in this huge tank, and I won't be able to see them. I won't be able to check on them. There's not going to be a lot for them to eat because I only have the one fish in there right now.
right.
So we should talk.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think you're only like a couple hours from me. So,
Yeah,
um,
yeah, yeah.
that would be awesome. That would be amazing.
Cool.
Then I can have something else in my tank because I have that leather coral that kind of came to me from
Yeah, that's right.
a third party, and it's doing awesome.
Well, and if you want like a Montipora frag, I don't know if you saw my short video. I have lots of Starburst Montipora
Oh
that
yeah, I would
are a
love it.
decent size, and those things grow so fast. I don't think I'm going to need all of them for the new tank. Well, yeah, we'll talk.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I'll message you. That's awesome. Thank you.
Okay, no problem.
So okay.
I wouldn't recommend Aptasia X. Seems to make them spread. F. Aptasia works better. Prefer peppermint shrimp or Bergias if you don't have wrasses. Yeah, with that's the problem I always had when people would say, get a wrasse. But the problem is I only had a 29-gallon tank. So even if I got a 6-line, which is one of the smaller ones, those things can be real jerks when you have other fish.
Hmm.
So having a wrasse isn't an option with a smaller tank.
I have a small wrasse in there, but it's like a ruby longfin fairy wrasse or something. But
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
know.
that's
He doesn't
right.
bother my other shrimp, but I don't know if
Hmm.
he would eat. Um, I mean, he's pretty small. He eats at like he eats like a pig, but I've never seen him bother any like invertebrates or anything like that.
Yeah, yeah, I don't know a lot about wrasses because it's a type of fish that, as much as I admire them, I find it confusing to figure out what what you can have with what else, which ones need sand, which ones don't need sand, which ones have to be by themselves, which ones are going to jump out of the tank. And so the only thing that I would really love to have, I think, is a leopard wrasse because I think they're
Oh, I love
beautiful.
them.
And
He's
I
de-
think I could get one.
Yeah, they're beautiful. He's definitely not my favorite fish. I actually lost him one time for like 3 days. I was like, he must have just died, and the cleanup crew took care of him.
I seem to
Then,
remember that.
yeah, and then I was cleaning my skimmer or something in the back chamber, and I saw him like at the top, but he was like, you know how they get like that molted color when they're like sleeping or stressed. I'm like, oh,
Yep.
there he is. He's like dead. And then he blinked, and I was like, oh, he's not. He's totally in there. So, I mean, that was an ordeal. I had to like rip the whole thing apart, get my husband to be like, help me catch this thing. I finally got him out, and then he's like really skittish. Like if I use like that long handle algae scraper, he tries to
Hmm.
jump into the chambers. Like I don't know if it's the reflection of the metal or what it
Hmm.
is, but
Yep.
so he did it again, and then I was like, oh my gosh, this fish is just like the death of me. So then I came up with this idea, and I took 1/2 inch internal diameter just vinyl tubing, and I
Yep.
split it down the like horizontally, because in the well, you have a biocube, right? You know how there's
Yep.
like a little gap in between the lid and the top of the back chamber, which is so
Yep.
tiny, but for some reason he could jump in.
Hmm.
So I put that over the top of the lip, and he hasn't been able to jump in there since. But I mean,
Yeah.
one time it literally took me 3 days. Every day I would come up home
Mhm.
from work, and like I have that like sump area, like I have a UV sterilizer, a skimmer, like I have so much stuff packed back there, and to
Yep.
take it all out is just like such a pain to try to get them.
Well, you
But
know what happens psychologically, you don't even want to open that lid to do anything in the tank because you don't know if the damn fish is going to go somewhere.
it
Yeah.
never jumped out of the top, like because sometimes I leave it open like when I'm feeding it, because I'll feed like different things, and I'm like, oh, I should close that. It's only ever tried to jump in the back chambers, and then when I hear that like telltale splash, I'm like, oh, there he goes again. Like, but he hasn't been able to get in there since I put that tubing down. So, but he's
That's a
not my
smart
favorite,
thing. Smart
right?
response to that. Yeah. I know the ones yeah. Well, and on the bright side, my green wrasse is going to go to the LFS.
I was
He,
wondering, I saw that he was still in the
yeah,
tank.
he is, and he's going to probably be the last fish I take out because I pretty much have to leave the tank running. And because the LFS is like an hour and something drive from where I live now, we have to plan ahead to take him up there. And when I was at the store picking up my pumps and the skimmer earlier in the week, he was trying to make room for a new shipment, so he gifted me with a beautiful Tomini tang.
Oh,
So I'm super thankful for that, and the I did the proper acclimation and everything. Took my time because, of course, I put it in the tank here, so I had the 2 hours to just drip it and all that kind of thing. And because that's my preference, the half in, half out, I think is good for some fish, but for most fish, I just feel better about taking it slow and keeping the stress level low.
yeah.
And so now I know where he hides because most Tomini tangs will pick a spot and that's where they'll go. Like he lays on top of a power head, it's kind of sideways. That's what they do. And if he's not there, he'll be in kind of a vertical position alongside one of the bumps in the tank. And if he's not there, he'll be under the arch of rock that I put in from the big tank. And you can just see his tail sticking out. He's quite a big fish. He's probably the size of my hand. And so he's settled in well. I've had him for 3 days and 3 nights. The first thing you do every morning is come down with a flashlight and check the floor all around because it's an open tank. There's no lid on it. And yeah, so
Oh my goodness.
there's my
Yeah.
one fish.
One of my clownfish, like my Darwins, when I had them upstairs, I have them in a different tank now. But the one used to sleep on top of the power head, like it was actually like curved over it. The first time I saw it, I thought it was definitely dead because it had
Yeah.
like I thought it died and was like sucked onto the power head, and I was like, oh no. Then I realized like it's just sleeping there, so I was like, okay, but um, yeah.
Oh, hey, Deep Reef. Deep Reef says all wrasses will jump. Robert Poorman is wondering if clowns jump. And Deep Reef says, yes, they do. Helicories and Anapses wrasses need sand. Okay. Yeah, I have the green wrasse is a Helicories wrasse. And I don't mind having sand. I will have sand in the new tank. So that's not an issue. But yeah, I just find it confusing.
Yeah, I have lids on all my tanks just because I have cats and a Siamese cat who is like,
Yeah.
I mean, he would be in it. One time I was doing a water change on my BioCube and I had the lid off because I like to like just clean all around. And then he literally launched himself like from the ground and landed straight inside the tank.
Oh
And
my
I was so
God.
upset. My family was laughing at me because I'm like, you're getting your germs in my
Yeah,
tank.
litter box. Litter box. That's
Right?
all I can think of.
I know, I was literally freaking out, and he knocked like corals down and everything. But then, I mean, he was licking salt water off of him because I got him out like right away. But I mean, I was thinking, oh goodness knows what's like on his paws. My tank's gonna
Uh-huh.
crash, but it was fine. But
Yeah.
now I always know where he is if I'm doing a water change.
That's
So
funny. Oh, hey, Johnny. ReefGrrl, love your background. Awesome painting. Oh, thanks. That we got that in Whistler in British Columbia. It's actually a photograph of Crater Rim Forest. I don't know if I can get it more fully in the picture. And the guy is like an archivist or something, but he developed a technique to take a photograph, break it up into pixels, and uses fluorescent dyes to highlight pixels on the print. So what happens is, depending on what the sort of light levels are, the thing changes. You look as if you can walk right into it because of these fluorescent dyes that are here and there throughout. It's really, really cool. We couldn't afford it when we bought it, but of course that didn't stop us. And that was before I had a reef. That was before I had a reef tank. But thank you. We love it. Yeah, that's my living room. I'm not in the fish room tonight because of construction going on in there to hang the lights. Steve Fuller, building my dream tank. Where's a good place to order 100 drums for RDI and saltwater mix? 100 drums for roadie. Oh, 100 gallon, you mean? Depends where you are, if you're in the US or Canada. In Canada, we got ours at TSC, the farm supply, which is now PV Mart, Peavey. You can find them on Amazon, but they're stupid expensive. I think if you check on YouTube, Pelfrey, when he was first setting up his mixing stations, I think he got his from Ace Rotomold. And he's in Texas, so it seems to me he could go and pick them up. Is he in Texas? No, he's in Kentucky. I'm sorry. I thought he was in Texas. But in the States, the name I've heard is Ace Rotomold. Maybe other people have some input into that as to where you can get them. But we got all of ours at TSC. And we were lucky to get them because I don't know what the situation is like now, but there were supply chain issues like you can't believe back in November getting things like that. We had to wait about 3 weeks before they could even get them from their warehouse. And we saw the numbers dwindling from 25 when we first started to look to about 3 just before we got ours. So, yeah, farm supply. Yeah, farm supply. The only thing you have to look into is the type of plastic. There's another brand we learned called Little Giant. And the type of plastic they're made of is different than Rubbermaid. Rubbermaid is HDPE. Little Giant is LDPE. The difference between the two is how they respond to heat. And I learned all of this when we were doing the research into plastics and what you can use and what you can't use. This is the black plastic. I can't speak to the white stuff other than to say it would be the similar characteristics for similar HDPE, LDPE. But the low density polyethylene, if it's exposed to temperatures up at around 150 degrees, it starts to leach. But the HDPE, high density polyethylene, doesn't do that. So LDPE is not a bad thing to use. I believe LDPE is number 4 in the little triangle. HDPE is number 5. And number 2 is acceptable, but not as good as 5 or 4. So that's what I learned when it came to sourcing stock tanks to use for the sump. So I don't know if that helps, or you may know all of that already, but we spent quite a while even contacting manufacturers. So Little Giant is the brand that seems to be carried now by PV Mart, whereas Rubbermaid was before. Rubbermaid is a lot more expensive, but it is the better quality type of plastic, the HDPE. Okay, Southwest Virginia. Nice looking, oh, Broke Reef Man says, nice looking clowns, Taryn.
Thank you. I have like 5 pairs now. I think I have a problem.
I was losing count. I was wondering.
Yeah. So these guys are just in a 30-gallon, but it's separated. But I've just sold almost all of my freshwater fish. So I'm
Wow.
going to, yeah, I just, you know what, to be honest, I've kind of lost interest in it, and I haven't really been putting as much effort into it. So I thought, you know what, maybe somebody else that's going to really appreciate them. I don't usually rehome like animals I've had, but all the people I've sold them to, they've reached out to me and been like, oh, it's such a great addition to my tank. So I had a couple angelfish, like a mated pair of angelfish I sold. And so I'm going to break that tank down, and I'm going to make it saltwater. So then I'll have 4 tanks.
So you really have come over to the dark side.
I have. I'm like, and when I'm doing water changes, I'm like, what was I thinking? But
yeah, I know. It was the same for us. I had my reef tanks, but this is when I had the small ones, and we still had 255s, a 90, and a 125 in our basement, and they all had fish in them. And we decided we were going to renovate the basement. So we decided also that that was a good time to rehome the fish. So we took our time, took probably 6 months before we finally got them all into homes we knew we're going to love them. And well, in fact, one of them is Deb Tim, a Canadian girl. She has a YouTube channel about her cichlids. It's amazing. If you're interested, absolutely amazing channel. and she's got the most beautiful aquariums that you'll ever see, and a pond and animals and
Wow.
like the rest of
Maybe
us,
I'll
right?
reach out to her. I still have 3 left, so.
Yeah, it wouldn't hurt because I don't know what she's up to lately. I haven't had much of a chance to watch videos in the last couple weeks, but anyway, so we finally got them rehomed. There was my giant parrotfish, silver dollars, Pictus catfish, which were at that point 7 years old already, so fully grown. And there was a guy who was just thrilled to get them. We had a huge Plecostomus that was over 14 inches long. A guy was thrilled to
Wow.
get that. Two giant Oscars that were at this point almost a foot long, and they went with the tank. So it was quite a process. But in the end, it was such a relief because I didn't realize how much time I was spending every week looking after those tanks. And I agree with you. I would sit and watch them. I enjoyed them, but it just wasn't the same as the reef.
Hmm.
It's a different level of I guess commitment. Maybe it's the commitment that you have to a reef tank that sort of makes everything else pale in comparison. I don't know.
I just feel like I like a challenge, and I felt like, well, I've had freshwater pretty much my whole life, and really when I got back, when I started getting more into it a few years ago, I started getting into like the planted tanks and stuff, which was, I mean, it was
Yeah.
fun, but then I got to a level where it's just kind of, I don't want to say bored, but I mean,
Yeah.
I could have gone to like do CO2 and all that kind of stuff. Like I kind of dabbled into it, but I'm like, am I really that committed to it? Because I had always wanted to start a saltwater tank, but then once I got pretty comfortable with that freshwater tank, and then I think I mentioned that I started watching Corey Willard, and I was
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, like if this 12-year-old can do it, like I could
I
totally
know,
do it.
right? Yeah. Yeah,
Actually,
exactly.
I commented on him and he shared my post because I was like, I messaged him saying like, hey, just want to let you know that like I have always wanted to start a reef tank, and like you're the first YouTuber I had ever watched. And then I was just like, I'm just gonna do it. Like I'm sure I can do it. And obviously, I
Yeah.
mean, I'm a year and a half in now, and now I have like 4 tanks. So
Right. Oh, hey, Steve Fuller, you're very welcome for the information, and thanks for saying love your tank. I think he loves your tank too, Taryn, because that's the one we're looking at right now.
yeah.
Um,
Well,
Herm
this is a
14.
basement tank, so
Are the clowns laying eggs yet,
so
Taryn?
not yet. Like these guys, I actually bought as a breeding pair, but I've only had them maybe a month, and I'm still like they are a breeding pair, so I'm hoping that they're gonna lay. And then these guys, I these were actually my first saltwater fish, so I've had them. They're maybe like a year and a half, like coming up on 2 years old. They're probably 2 years old now, so um they've been cleaning the pod and stuff, but I haven't had
Uh,
any eggs yet. But I'm sure between the two of them, I think it might be a little bit like when I move them over to my 55-gallon. That's my plan, is I'm gonna separate that out and move these guys over there so I have more options with lighting, because this one I
right.
can't put a timer on this light. So I think that might be a little bit, and who knows, maybe they're just too new to the system, but
Yeah.
I'm hoping, like, that's my plan.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Um, oh, I saw another comment here. Oh, yeah, deep reef. If you're mounting lights, has your tank arrived? Maybe I missed that. No, it hasn't arrived. But because of the dimensions of the tank, it's 5 feet by 5.5 feet. There's no way we're going to be able to hang lights when the tank is in place. So my husband came up with this design for a mounting board along the ceiling with hooks. And each of the 6 lights that were hanging, I have 4 bar lights and 2 panel LED lights. Each light will have an option of 3 different positions to hang them. So the perimeter lights, there's a set of hooks around the outside, and then another set 1 inch in, and then another inch in. And it's the same with the panel lights. There's a set near the front, near the back, and then 2 more sets of hooks, 2 inches, 1 inch, and 1 inch in. So because it was kind of complicated that way, and because of the way that he mounted the hooks, he needed space above them. I'm going to have a video about it just to explain all of this. But it was just going to be impossible to even think about trying to mount them while the tank was in place. So that's why we decided to do it now. And so the mounting board is up on the ceiling. Today we were looking at the layout of the power supplies and the drivers and the power bar that are going to be up inside the sort of valance that's going to go around it. And that's going to happen next week. It's going to get installed. So yeah, I'm ready. There's a couple things that we need to do in there. We need to remove a tile from the floor so that we can drill holes down through the floor to the basement. So yeah, that's where that stands. I will have a video coming out about that, but it'll probably be with the lights when they're over the tank. So it could be a while yet, could be a month or more at this point. Oh, hey, MB Reef. So Tony Close Taryn is asking, if your clowns do lay eggs, what's your plan for that, to raise them? Oh, are you muted? There you go. Have you got yourself muted maybe, Taryn? Yeah, you're muted. Pictus cat was one of my favorites in freshwater, long whiskers. I love those things. They would tear around the bottom of the tank like little race cars, and they would come out and eat. Those things would eat small fish as well. I did have some tetras and things in that tank, and they disappeared. I'm pretty sure they got eaten by the Pictus cats. But they would pile up under this rock ledge, like sort of like a flat roofed cave that we created with big pieces of slate. And I had silver dollars in there, as well as the Pictus cats, and a large parrotfish, and a plecostomus, a dwarf sailfin pleco, true dwarf. He was about 10 years old when he passed away, and he was only about 6 inches long. So yeah, they're lots of fun. Hey, Salty Reef, and hello, Gary Gargoya. So yeah, so Taryn, I think you might be muted, maybe? We can't hear you. Or is it me that can't hear you? Hang on a second. Hello? Hello? Oh, we lost Taryn. Maybe she'll come back. Anyway, sorry about that. That could just have been my little device crapping out. Oh, there we go. Your mic looks like it's muted. It's got the line through it. Yeah, maybe it's your internet. And I meant to tell everybody I'm operating on Wi-Fi tonight because the router is essentially right behind me here. So if the stream does drop, that'll be why.
Can you hear me now?
There we go.
Oh, okay, sorry. I don't know what happened there. Maybe it was my internet. But yes, Tony, if I've been just doing a ton of research, so if they do lay eggs, I'm planning on trying to raise them. So my plan is, that's why I have the pots in here. I'm gonna just do I guess if you transfer the pod at like 9 days, like right before they're gonna hatch, and then you can hatch them in a separate tank. That's kind of my goal, is I'm going to try to raise them, and then who knows, maybe I'll end up with a harem if I have any survivors, or take them to my LFS. But right now I'm just hoping that they actually lay eggs. But
They're so beautiful. And those are the
I love
Clarkies,
them.
right? These are the Darwins, and
Yeah.
those are the Clarkies.
Yeah, I love these guys. These guys, like, every time I go feed my fish, I'm like, these ones are my favorite, and then I'm like, no, these ones are, like, so I don't know. I definitely love them. They're beautiful in person because they're quite big. They're probably like 3 inches at least. These guys
Right.
are maybe a couple inches, like they're a couple years old, and my other ones are small. I want to show you my Picassos. I was trying to go upstairs, that's why I muted my mic, but then I couldn't get back on. But so I'll try to go upstairs and show you them, because they're like actually so stunning, but they're quite young too. But they're the star of my reef tank right now.
Yeah, beautiful. My clownfish are very tiny, and I think my daughter's very much enjoying looking after them. They're in Mollywood, and when I do the short intro vid or the short reminder videos for the live stream, the last couple they've been in there. But when you pan back, you can see that they're not even an inch and a half long. They're quite tiny, and I'm really
They're
looking
Darwins,
forward.
right?
Yeah, they are. But one's an extreme miss bar, and the other was supposed to be half and half. It was an aberrant, um, but it has developed more black, but its entire face is orange. So I'm assuming in time that'll go away and it'll turn black, but I don't know when that happens. But when they first had her, like they're about 6 months old, and when they first were moving them onto the fish store, um, they really thought she was going to stay half and half. But anyway, they're just gorgeous fish. I love the orange chin on that one.
Yeah, I know that's the female one. Actually, when I first got them, they were like, well, you know, with Darwins, they have more orange until they get older. But yeah, this
Yeah.
one seemed to maintain the orange on the face, where the other one went like full black. But I mean, they're just a plain fish, but they're so like they're quite stunning. I love clownfish,
Hmm.
but
Yeah.
obviously.
They are. I had Sunny and Cher, and I love those fish. They were 5 years old when I lost them, just over 5 years old, and
Oh wow.
I love the size. They're a really nice size. They're not too big, they're not too tiny, so they can survive in a larger tank. And they
Mm-hmm.
don't let anybody beat them up. They would knock the turbo snails right off the glass if they were laying eggs. It was funny.
Yeah, mine did that when I got that big giant turbo snail. I think I posted a video on my Instagram. I think I actually commented on it that
Yep.
when they were like literally going underneath of it trying to get it off, they were like, "Get out of my area."
Yeah.
I don't have any like snails or any cleanup crew or anything in here, just because I don't want them, if they do lay eggs, I don't want any like anything eating them. But
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I know what you mean. It's sometimes a hard decision to figure out what actually is going to work with what else.
yeah.
Cool.
I'm just gonna mute myself and see if I can go upstairs to show you my other tank for a couple minutes, and then hopefully I'll be able
Okay.
to unmute myself.
Okay. Yeah, I have. Here, let me do this. There we go. I do have a couple of pictures of the 150, just photographs, to give you a better sense of what's been moved over here. None of this stuff was on rock except for the Duncan and the candy cane. Those two were up on the rocks, but both of them were loose. So all I had to do is pretty much lift them off of there. And the toadstool, which you can kind of see on the left, kind of below the egg crate frag rack next to the fox coral, I did have to cut that off of where it was because it fell over essentially and started growing on the adjacent rock. I knew I was going to be moving things, so I had to cut it off. So once it survived that wound, it just drooped right over and ended up on top of a scoli and a cinerina that were in the front of Mollywood. And I got really worried about damage to them, so I just severed it and brought it home. So yeah, got some chat going on. Oh, hey Hector, Calypso's Reefs. How you doing, Hector? So if anybody saw the stream last week, Hector has created, Calypso's Reefs has created a DIY aquarium chiller that's pretty amazing idea, and he's been testing it. And we got to see it last week, so that was awesome. I saw on Instagram, Hector, where you've put a little bit more about running it and that it actually is cooling the water. So that's really cool. Get it? Sorry, bad pun. Oh, we can see it, Taryn.
Okay, is that
There you are.
filter okay, or is it too blurry?
I think it looks all right. It's not blurry.
It's like a green filter, so it's not. Some of my corals are closing up, but that's my Picassos.
Oh yeah. Very nice.
So
And how do
this
they get
tank, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, how do they get along with the wrasse?
Actually the wrasse, so once I put these guys in here, because my Darwins only stayed like in this corner by the power head, and then I had like a little pot for them over there. They weren't really active swimmers, but these guys swim all over the tank, and as soon as I put them in, the wrasse like thinks he's a clownfish. Like he just swims with them all the time. So he's definitely happier. I feel
Yep.
like before I kind of had thought about rehoming him before, because he would swim up and down the glass, like not like this, but more. He just didn't seem as happy. But now that these guys have been swimming with him, I mean, he seems okay. I
Oh,
might move
good.
him like once I change out my 55, I'll probably move him downstairs. Um, but yeah, no, they get along. And then I have a Watchman goby. I just have 5 fish in this tank.
Is he ever big?
His name's Sunny. He's so funny. He's so cute. That's his little cave there. And then I have my mandarin, and he's like super chunky. He eats frozen food. So
Cool.
those are. And then I just have my cleaner shrimp, and then that's the leather coral.
Yeah. Wow. It looks like it's growing. You know,
Yeah.
it took a long time to kind of settle in and start to grow, but once it started to grow, it really got big.
Yeah, like honestly, I think I mentioned the last time I was on that I got brown jelly in this tank. So unfortunately, I have lost some. Like I lost a torch, and I lost some of my SPS. So right now, um, just because I have so many other things going on, I've got some nice softies in here. Like that's a toadstool. This is
That
actually a
look.
toadstool. It's just shedding right now. So,
Yeah.
but that's nice and bright green.
Yeah.
I have a Duncan, but it's going to bed. And then on this side, I have this actually started. That's my hammer coral. That's probably my favorite one, because it started just with like one head. It's
Right.
it's it's usually bigger. It's just because my lights are ramping down. But and
Nice.
then
Is that two toadstools or just one
that's
at the
actually,
top
it
there?
was one. So it started out with like one small little tiny piece. And when I first got it, I tried to attach it to a rock with a rubber band, but I must have had it too tight, and it came off a bit stem. So I just put it like nestled it in a rock. It was super tiny. And then it kind of grew up, and then it split into two heads. So
That's
I don't
cool.
so it's pretty cool. And then I got this I don't know if you can see it. There's like a finger leather there that's
Yeah. Yeah.
really quite nice too. Um
Nice.
so yeah, that's kind of just what I have going on up here. It's nothing like
Oh,
too extreme, but maybe once I get everything else settled, I'll add some more things in here. But for
right.
right now, the softies are like kind of easy to maintain. So
Oh, yeah. And they look so nice. There's lots of movement.
yeah.
Cool. Oh, hey, ATF in the house. How you doing, Alan? And Hector popped in. So we should bring Hector in and see what he's got going on right now. Yeah, thanks for the tour. It's good to see all the clowns. I love it. I think it's great. You got a theme going
Thank
on
you.
there. Hey,
Hello,
Hector.
hello.
How are you?
Good, good. Hi, Terry.
Hello.
So this is the new DNT lagoon you've got here. You're showing
Yes,
us.
yes. Been messing around with it for a little bit because got a taste all over the place.
Oh no.
I bought an army of peppermint shrimps. Throw them in there and see what happens
Mhm.
tonight.
Yeah. Yeah, they surprised me with how fast, once they started eating them, they like got through all of them really,
Yeah,
really
I had
fast.
them under control. I know I had them in the tank because I saw them before in the refugium, but in the tanks itself, they were never there because I had the shrimp there. But once they passed, forget it. Um, they just started moving up to the tanks, and only in this one, only in the DNT. The other one, I haven't seen one, so I'm gonna keep my finger crossed. If not, I'm gonna go grab another army and throw them in there.
Yep, I've
That looks
always
so
had good
good,
luck.
Victor.
Beautiful, eh?
Thank you, thank you.
Is that a gorgonian in the back?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I love
Yep.
it.
Yeah. Started really, really tiny. Got it from Petco. So I thought I wasn't gonna make it, but it started growing. I have fracked it already like 3 times already.
Hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
I like where you have it. It looks nice there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And is that a stylo? Is that your purple stylo there in front of it?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That thing is huge.
Yeah, it got really big. The little frag that I cut from the corner that was touching the Monty
Yeah.
is huge now. Yeah, look at it over here.
Wow. I got a
Yeah.
tiny purple stylo from the LFS.
Yeah.
So I'm really looking forward to growing it out.
Yeah. Once at the beginning, this one was kind of shy, but once it took over,
Yeah.
once it took off, it's gone. Now it's just growing everywhere.
Cool. Roman's Reef says, wow, looks great. Hi, Roman's Reef.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm here sitting watching the clown because it was pushing the mandarin around. So I'm probably
Yeah.
gonna
They're
punish him and
bossy.
put him in the sun for a little bit.
So how do you catch fish when you have to catch them, Hector? Do you use your hands or a net? What do you do?
uh, well, first I just chase them with the pointer stick, get them tired
Okay.
until until they don't go hiding no more and they just in a corner like right now. That's what he's doing because I was chasing him earlier. So, but he's being bullied right now. Out of nowhere, he just started doing it out of nowhere. And blowing the sand with the tail, pushing them in there and around. But that's why he's in that corner because that's where I usually get him. But,
Yep.
and then just grab the net. If not, if I could get him with my hand, I get him with my hand. If not, just grab the net and get him all real quick.
Was
When I
he
went
the
to-
one that was in your small tank? Sorry, Cindy.
Oh,
In the
no, it's
what?
okay.
Was he the one that was in, I think it was like a 14-gallon, or did you bring him out of your big tank?
He was in the big tank with the big female I had. And
Oh, yeah.
One of the female died. I put him in the sun because he started bullying the other clowns. When I had 4, they were getting along just fine. But once one died, it was chaos.
Yeah, I remember that. I was like, how are you having 4? But yeah, they can change their personality pretty quick.
Yeah, they were getting along just fine. It was 2 pairs. They were both staying, with each other and come together and sleep with each other too at night. But once the female died, that was it. So he became aggressive now.
Yeah, when I brought the Tomini Tang home, I thought I had nets here. But the only net I had was the big giant one we used to use for goldfish.
Oh.
So I wanted to acclimate slowly, so I did using a drip. Then let's do this for now. And when it was time, I put new salt water into a container that I checked first, and I could get the net part, like the mesh part, into the container, but the frame was way too big. So I put some new salt water in there because I wanted to rinse the fish off, because coming from the fish store, in case it had any traces of copper, right, still in the water.
Yep.
So I took the other container over and put it right beside it. I got him. I poured the bag and gently got him in the net. So I emptied the bag of water out into the sink. And then I lowered him down into the new salt water. gently moved him up and down, and he looked like he was going to jump. And of course, with the net being like 10 inches by 12 inches, there was no way I could cover it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So I just, as quick as I could, I gently pulled him out, went right over to the other tank, lowered the net in, and he just took off like a rocket. So yeah, best laid plans. I wasn't expecting to get a fish.
Yeah,
And all of the nets are at the other place because that's where the fish are.
yeah.
Hector, ATF is Alan is saying, nice tank. How big is it?
The tank 24
24
gallons, so it's 20 by 20.
Yeah. Oh, hey, Straight Reefer. Straight Reefer in the house.
So I finally got the net, the mesh screen this week.
Yeah.
So I finally did the top. So it's done now.
That looks nice.
Yeah, it came out really good. Still a little, I gotta stretch more.
Yeah.
The line goes away. And
Nice.
then in the back, I put this little, it's like a rubber.
Yeah.
They use for the door, for the bottom of the door.
Yeah.
Put Velcro on it, and that's how I'm keeping the fish in there.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Skinner JW is here. Hey, Skinner JW. He's got a question for you, Hector. I'm only dosing all for reef for alk. I don't know how long I can keep up. Kalkwasser scares me. How much do you dose to your ATO? I think he's talking about Kalkwasser.
Yeah.
Hey.
The way I do it, I know a lot has to do with I would say with the quantity of corals you have in your tank and how much they are consuming. So what I'm doing right now, I first started with only a scoop of Kalkwasser, or 1 teaspoon, in 5 gallons, and then started going up and up. And depending how much Kalkwasser I needed or alkalinity and calcium I needed for the corals. But right now on 5 gallons, I'm using 4 teaspoons. And they just keep the alkalinity in check around 8.9. And I just put that water, once I mix it, I just grab whatever is available and put in my ATO. And every time that water evaporates, that's the water that's going in already with the Kalkwasser in it.
Yeah. So where your tanks are now, your evaporation rate must have stabilized from where they used to be, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the only risk with Kalkwasser. If the evaporation rate changes, then the amount you end up dosing changes. And I mean, it sounds so obvious when I say that now, but when I was going through that, I was like, what is going on?
Yeah.
Well, I figured it out.
Yeah, that's one thing. The temperature and humidity gotta stay the same at all times. So you get the same evaporation at all times.
Yeah. ATF in the house has something interesting here. A large piece of Florida Keys coral skeleton that he's chiseled down and he's seasoning will become a centerpiece with different encrusting corals. Wow, you must be reading my mind, Alan, because that's what I'm going to be doing with the large coral skeletons that I have. They're like huge lobes. They look like hands reaching out. And that's the plan for those, is to have encrusting corals on them.
Oh, that would look nice.
Well, look at the crab going across the front there. He's moving pretty fast in your tank. So Hector,
I moved things around a little bit. It was bothering me, all the frags in front of the tank. So I wanted more like a clean sand look. So you can see the sand, then you can see each island. So
nice.
Yeah. And I heard you talking about the chiller.
Yeah.
So the chiller, it did work, but the aluminum inside, not a good idea.
Oh, isn't that interesting? You would have thought that once it got cold, it would stay cold, and that would help, right?
But the problem is, since water from the tank is going through inside the chiller, is warming up the aluminum and also the insulation.
And the aluminum and it stays warm.
So it stays warm. So it takes longer. Yeah, it will take longer for it to get cold.
Yeah.
So the minute I removed it, temperature started rising in there, getting more cold or dropping, and the tank went on temperature right away.
Yep. Oh, cool.
So
Yeah, it's good.
the best way will work is just if like I say, when the time comes, just stuff bottle of water frozen in there and get it quick.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, before it warms up.
Huh. So how often do you clean your glass, Hector? I'm sitting here looking at it, even down along the sand bed. It looks like pristine. So how
Uh,
long has this tank been up now?
I do it. I do it every day.
Yeah.
Every day I just come real quick, and that way I don't get no build up
Yeah.
all year round.
That's one of the things I said to my husband with this new tank. I want to get into a routine
Yeah,
where every morning, right after breakfast, I clean the glass because at the same time, you can check on everything, right? You can see how it's all doing. You can look for problems that you might have to solve. Yeah.
so when I do is after feeding.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, since I do those the aminos every day and do all that, then if the glass has a little bit of algae already attached to it, the amino will attach also. So I just take it all at once, and then by tomorrow night again, then I gotta do it again, like almost every night.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Because it looks beautiful. It just
thank
looks
you.
so, so clean. I love that.
Yeah, everything is happy today.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing is too, the water line, when you don't have like a line of film, the
Yep.
water line just looks so, there's so much more movement, you can see it so much better.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. This tank was given to me by Straight Reefer.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. When he came over here, when I had the power outage, that's when they came, him and Benny,
Yeah,
and he brought it to me.
nice. Well, you sure made it beautiful.
Thank you.
So what do you do with the tanks you don't use anymore? Do you store them just in case, or how do you handle that?
The 14 gallon right now is sitting in the back porch.
Ah,
But the rest I just get rid of them
yeah.
because I don't want I don't want the temptation of setting them up again. Because I will get it,
Yeah,
trust me. And the minute I bring it inside, it's a done deal. It's gonna
yeah.
get water and
Yeah, because you go to the LFS and it's like, "Oh, I want that. Oh, but I can't have that. But wait, I could set up another tank."
yeah, yeah. And once you start making water, like to do a water change, you say, I got enough water to start another tank.
Uh-huh.
So,
Yeah. That's how it starts.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
The A cans are looking beautiful too.
Yes, they're doing good today. Yeah, I'm happy because lately I know I'm having problem with nutrients.
Hmm.
Other day they were off the roof, and then I think 2 days ago I test again and nowhere to be found. So I don't know why.
Hmm.
I know I got a big bio load because I got a lot of fish. Um, I feed a lot,
Yeah.
so I don't know why they disappear. I know I added a little bit of. I mean, I know I did a water change, but it was only 5 gallons, and every time I do 5 gallon water change, I never see a drop of nutrients like that.
Hmm.
So
Crazy. And
yeah.
you have a sump for this tank too, right?
No, they both connected together.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it's still
That's right.
connected together.
So you have but you do have a sump for the system.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, yeah. So do you still grow Kato down there?
Not potato what I got right now is the I don't know what
Oh,
pink that
yeah,
red.
that I remember this from last week. We're wondering, it looks like kind of like Calerpa, but it's something a little different.
Yes, yes. It do have Kato in there.
Yeah,
Um, but the other one I really don't know what it is.
yeah. Well, maybe that's what's happening with your nutrients. It got happy and it just started growing.
And I think that's what it is. Cause you see all this new growth here
Yeah,
that wasn't
yeah.
there last week.
Oh,
And
yeah.
then this one, you remember that was kind of white or clear. Now it's turning
Yeah,
back pink. So
yeah, yeah.
I guess it's stabilizing itself.
Yeah.
Yep, I just saw another updation on here. I gotta put crude in here. You remember that coral that I was talking about? It's still here. Um, this thing don't die. Look, that's a coral. That's that coral that I show you.
Oh,
And
yeah, we couldn't figure out what it is.
yeah,
I was looking in my coral books tonight. If you can get a good picture of that, can you send it to me on Insta?
I will.
Because the things I was looking at today, I was looking for something really specific, and I saw a lot of corals that are that type of branching,
Mm-hmm.
but they're not acropora. They've got other weird names.
Yeah, and it's some form of branching, but not like an acro or any SPS that I see.
Yeah, we kind of figured it kind of resembles a setosa in its growth habit.
Yes, that's what it looked like. Even the skin or the
Yeah,
growth patterns in the skin.
yeah, but it
It looked
doesn't
like
have
that.
actual polyps that you can see.
It do. That's what I'm looking at right now.
Mm,
That is just hard to tell.
yeah.
I'm gonna try to get the magnifying lens and see if I could get really close. So once it gets happy, since I moved it now to the tank.
Yeah,
So,
because I've got those, that book, Corals of the World, and
yeah.
it's 3 big books full of pictures of like hundreds and hundreds.
Oh wow. Yeah, I gotta look it up and see.
Hello, Yellow Tang.
Yeah, his the color on that fish now is super bright yellow.
He's
Beautiful.
he's a camera hog.
Yeah.
Like, when are you gonna feed me, man? Cool.
Beauty.
Yeah, Robert Poorman is wondering if it's a branching Cyphastria, and I have one, and the color um, is not. It doesn't come in a color like this blue. It's
Yeah.
it's kind of a grayish green with red
Mhm.
polyps, and that's the only color that's been identified. Now, who knows? And actually, the way it grows, the skin is very smooth, and the polyps develop on the flat encrusting part, and then they start to grow upwards.
Oh wow.
So, but this one looks more gnarly, like it looks more knobbly.
Yeah, I see this one with greens. I see like green, purple on the tips.
Yeah.
Um, but the skin pattern or tissue is kind of like the pabona.
Oh, yeah, okay. Oh, I should
That's
look because
how.
there's digitata versions of a lot of those corals. I'll have
But
to
you
have
know
a
what?
look.
I'm gonna give it some love and let it grow for a little bit and see how happy it can get and see if we could get a nice picture.
Yeah, 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 that'd
Because
be
since
good.
that day, I just throw it in the I threw it in the sump and it's been there, haven't died. So
So treat it nice, and who knows, right?
yes, yeah.
Hmm.
Maybe it becomes the most beautiful coral. You never know.
Yeah, you just don't know, right?
Yeah.
Hmm. Your mandarin over there snacking.
Hmm. Yeah, I got mad when I saw the clown. I said, "Please don't do it. I don't want to take you out of there."
Yeah.
Because that fish don't bother nobody.
Nope.
The mandarin, I think. I mean, of course, if you put another mandarin, it's gonna be mean to it. If it's a male, yeah. If it's a female, who knows? But like they don't bother nobody.
Yeah.
So,
Hmm.
and I'm planning to get firefish again, so he better behave. I love firefish. That's one of my other favorite fish.
Yeah.
So peaceful. They don't bother no. Or at least one. I'm not gonna get a pair because it happened to me. It happened to my boy Ariel. He had a pair of firefish, and out of nowhere they started beating each other.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, it's so hard to tell because a lot of times you do see tanks with 2 or 3 firefish,
yeah, yeah,
right? And they all seem to be fine.
Yeah. But I don't know. And for him, it started happening at the same time that started happening to me.
Huh.
I don't know if it was the season because my clownfish got aggressive, the firefish got aggressive, and at the same time his got aggressive. So I said,
Oh,
so it's maybe
yeah,
something with this season. Probably is mating season for them.
maybe. Yeah,
So they probably realized we two males.
yeah.
Somebody got to turn to a female.
Yeah, somebody.
Somebody. So
So you mentioned that you dose aminos and everything. What brand do you use of that stuff? Do you have any particular one that you really like?
well, okay. So I was just talking about that in the live stream that I did before. Because I was gonna jump on yours too, and somebody asked me the same thing. So
Oh yeah.
I've been using Res C, 80
Okay.
plus, but
Yeah.
ever since I started using that one, I think that's when I got the fluctuating with the nutrients
Oh,
compared to when I was using fuel.
okay.
So I like when I was using fuel, like I saw more stability with nutrients and with the corals, how they were, happier.
Mm-hmm.
But now it's like it's days they super happy and it's days that they not happy. So
Hmm. Interesting.
so yeah, I'm gonna switch once I go through this bottle. I'm gonna switch again and see the reaction that I get from the fuel.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the only way to really find out, I guess.
Yeah, and see if the nutrient stays stable or I don't know. And also I'm gonna add sand to the 40. So I went out today to get that too,
Hmm.
and they only had one bag. I went to my other LFS. They were more expensive over there.
Hmm.
Petco had it cheaper, and I said, you know what? I just wait for Petco have the amount that I need. So
Yeah. Yeah.
it was a $10 difference. Um, so nah, I go wait.
Yeah. Cyphastria, a good idea to encrust. Can they go next to other encrusters? Which ones? Yeah, my Cyphastrias, let me think. I have a Cyphastria, a meteor shower, right next to a divine mystic sunset Montipora. It's red skin with blue, deep, deep blue polyps. It's an encruster. And where they join each other, they just stop growing. One doesn't attack the other, one doesn't overgrow the other. And in
Mm,
fact, the Cyphastria has grown up vertically.
wow.
So it comes along, it's almost like the edge curls up away from the Montipora.
Yeah.
So I would say Montipora and Cyphastria you could probably put together. That's the red one with the blue polyps. Who
Yeah.
knows if sunset, orange with the green, who knows, right?
Yeah.
And
The
then,
the orange with the green is aggressive. That
yeah,
one I put it next to the gold mine cyphastia and
yep,
started eating it.
okay.
Yeah. So
O-
the that one is really. Hmm,
Okay, Benny, got to go check on his pregnant wife at hospital. Okay, send our hugs and love and hope she feels well.
definitely.
Yeah, the other place I have Cyphastria encrusting next to a different one is a red Cyphastria, which is a greenish gold skin,
Hmm.
dark green with red polyps, and it's right next to a Leptocerus, which is a like a bright green. I think green goblin they call
Yeah.
it. Who knows? You know what the name thing is like.
Yeah.
And I would say the Cyphastria is more aggressive than the Leptocerus because the Leptocerus has turned white
Yeah.
along the edge where it has been against the Cyphastria. So it's one of those things where I don't know. I guess all you can really do is try it,
Yeah. Try it and
and
like
yeah,
cut two little pieces, put them together, and see what happens.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Michael Lee says Mi Amino is the best. I don't know what that is. Vinegar based, so it doesn't have a negative impact on nutrients. Yeah. His worms, gorgs, and sea apples love it. Cool. Hey, Bisma worm guy. I think we might need an update on what your tanks are doing these days.
Definitely.
Miamino.
Miamino.
Cool. So yeah. So it's going to be interesting with the new tank because I'll have so much more space, and the plan is with this branching coral to only put one kind of encruster on each lobe of the branch.
Oh, okay.
So that I'll have all red or all green or all, over time, because that's, you think about goals. What's your goal for your tank? And I never used to be able to answer that, but now I can. And the goal is to grow big colonies, big areas of things, right?
Yes.
So
Yep.
so you see what it looks like. And what sort of got me on that track was my war coral.
Yep.
Because that thing is probably 6 or 8 inches across. It's encrusting up a couple of the other rocks where it is right now in the holding tank. But it looks beautiful spread out over a large area. Not a little frag or going in and out of crevices or whatever, but spread out over a large area, kind of maybe a few bumps here and there, but mostly flat. So I'm really going to try to develop large colonies of things.
Yes.
And the tank's going to look pretty sparse for a while until stuff starts to grow.
Yeah.
And the hard thing is going to be to resist the urge to put frags 4 or 5 inches apart, right?
Yes,
so
to fill the blanks.
yeah.
Well, that's exactly my goal right now with the tank. It has to look natural. For me, it just had to look natural.
Well, you have a talent for that, I have to say. The way you arrange things, the colors are all filled in, the shapes are right. It looks really beautiful.
Yeah, I try always, to make everything look like it just belonged there.
Yeah.
Like I'm tired of seeing a frag, something that look not natural.
Yeah.
So that's the looks I want to go for. If like I don't need to have 20 frags in one little tiny piece of rock. You know what I'm saying? When you can have 3 frags or 3 nice colonies, and it just makes a beautiful piece or corner piece or center piece.
Yeah.
And look natural. So
that's
my goals.
Yeah. Well, I mean, natural as far as what we do is natural.
Yeah.
But I mean, it looks right. I love the lush wall to wall look. I love it when things are filled in with color and texture. And so it's going to be a while. It'll definitely be delayed gratification for me, before I actually reach that point.
Yeah. Well, it's worth it.
Yeah, I think so. You learn so much on the way. Okay, so Michael Lee said it's called ME amino. ME amino. Okay, I'm going to write that down and look into it.
Me amino.
Yeah, I've been dosing Yeah, see what's up with that. I've been dosing the Coral Essentials.
Another thing I want to try, that a lot of people, well, not a lot of people, but a few people that I look up to, whatever they suggest for you to use is KC Coral Booster.
Oh yeah.
KC
I haven't heard of that one.
Yeah, I'm gonna try that because they say it helps when you have it helps the coral to grow tissue faster.
Yeah.
So if you have like pets in the tank, it takes some. Well, I don't know if it's that it do something to the skin of the coral that makes it more hard for any pets to shoot on it or just keep killing the colony, and the colony can recover more faster.
Was this on Reef Bum stream with Hillary Jaffe that she was talking about that, or was it? No, it wasn't her. Was it Bahama Llama?
No, I saw it. What live stream I was watching? Oh, it was BRS.
Oh yeah. You know what? You're right, Jennifer, the new person they hired.
The girl.
Yeah. Yeah, my
So,
husband was telling me about that. He's become a big fan of BRS.
oh yeah, yeah, it's interesting. It was really interesting to see,
Yep, yep.
what they have found so far. So it won't
Oh
kill
yeah.
to try it too at the same time and see what results we get.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and I really think it doesn't hurt to try new things
Yeah,
like that, and as long as you're careful with it, right? Because
yeah, yeah.
at
Follow
this stage,
yeah, yeah.
you
Follow
know.
directions
Yep,
and not exactly how they say. Just do what they say, but a little less, and just continue.
yep.
Yeah,
And
KC Core Booster. Yep.
see how your tank takes it, right? With flatworm stop. Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. Well, it's this anecdotal stuff that I guess who knows if it works for everybody,
Yeah,
but if people start trying it and they find it does work, then maybe it's worthwhile for somebody to actually do like a controlled test or do some research into it to find out maybe what the components are that
yeah,
make it work, you
yeah.
know?
And make it work. Yeah.
Yeah, like BRS said. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, I've been listening to a lot of streams lately with
Hmm.
working in the basement on my rocks and all that kind of stuff. So that's probably why I can't remember half the time where I hear stuff.
Yeah, I'm the same way too.
So what's next for you, Hector? Are you planning to kind of sail a steady course right now with these reefs, or have you got any new plans in mind?
That's the plan. But you never know. In my life, you never
Yeah,
know.
yeah,
I could be on Earth today, and I could be on Mars tomorrow.
yeah,
Um, but
yeah.
as of the reef itself, I'm doing a few upgrades. I ordered the OR3.
Oh,
Yeah, the OR3
nice.
Orfix. So two more bars
Yeah,
I'm gonna add.
yeah. That'll be
Um,
beautiful. They've got the 5-watt LEDs,
yeah.
the OR3.
That, and
Nice.
I'm also working on the new canopy,
Ah,
so I can have space for all those lights. It's gonna
yeah.
have 4, 5, 6, 7 lights.
Wow,
But
cool.
hey, I'm gonna make sure I can grow anything that is in the ocean.
Yeah, yeah. Or give it a good shot
Or at
anyway.
least give it a try. Exactly.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Well,
yeah,
I think it's cool how you've got that gorgonian in there that looks so good. I've the only one I've ever had success with is the corky sea finger, the one with the really long polyps.
yeah. I do have a frag of that there. One finger is still alive. The tip died. I'll show you. I got it because of your videos. I
Oh
saw
yeah.
that, so I gotta find one like that.
Oh yeah, I see it.
Yeah. So it got kind of sad for a little bit because it was underneath a bunch of corals when it was in the 14 gallons.
Yeah.
But now it's the polyps are coming back out in the tip.
They look healthy. They do like a lot of flow.
Yeah.
I've noticed that with mine, and they're photosynthetic. So
Mhm.
they also like a lot of light. Mine is right up at the top of Mollywood, almost directly in front of one of the return nozzles, and it just grows like crazy.
Mhm. Mhm.
Ooh.
So trying to
Hey,
get that.
Skinner JW, new tank transfer successful. New chapter. Congratulations. That's really cool.
Oh yeah, man. When you move a tank, it's fun in a way because you get to like a new start.
Hmm.
But before you start taking water out, that's the mission that you be like, oh geez, here we go. I
The
just don't want to
nerves.
do it no more.
I know.
But if I have to, I have to.
Well, that's just it. I'm moving my corals from the temporary tank to another temporary tank.
Yeah, yeah.
But at least the other temporary tank is in my house.
It's in your house, yes. Now you get to enjoy something for
Yeah.
while
Well,
you're working on stuff.
it's that thing where you wake up in the morning and the first thing you want to do is go and check your reef.
Yeah, yeah.
And I haven't been able to. And then, things started happening. We started having problems. Corals were fighting, fish were dying.
Hmm.
And so every time I got a text from my daughter, I dreaded looking at it because I thought, oh my God, now what's happened? Because then I got to run to her house and solve the problem. And,
Yeah, yeah,
you know,
yeah. It's
oh,
sad. It's sad when you're not close to your
yeah,
to something that you love doing. You know,
yeah.
it's just sad.
It's true. And I get in there and I could spend 2 hours in there and everybody's going, you know, what happened to you? Like, I thought you said it would take 15 minutes. It's like, sorry, like,
No, it will never take 15 minutes. It will never take 15 minutes.
hey, Cue Balls Reef, thanks for coming by. Yeah, nothing takes 15 minutes
Nope.
unless you dump something in your tank that you shouldn't.
Yes.
Oh,
So
oh, that's beautiful.
this one was Oscar gave me this one.
You know what? I think I have one like that. I think that's my orange one. It's got the blue ring around the
Yeah.
middle. Yeah, it's struggling right now. I've never really been good with acans.
Yes.
And, you know, it did really, really well for a while in the Red Sea tank. And when I brought it over to the holding tank, I just couldn't find the right spot for it.
Yeah. And this one started 2 polyps and now has a bunch of babies on the bottom.
Yeah, it's beautiful color.
Yeah. I'm in love with this green one. I don't know why, but it's just a green acan.
And
They're rare.
you know what? When I remember seeing acans for the first time, most of them were green.
Oh
That
yeah.
was pretty much the only color you can get. And
Wow.
then all of a sudden, all of these other colors started becoming available and they became more desirable. And I think people just kind of forgot about the green.
About the
And
green ones, yeah, and they're
yeah, and just
beautiful.
took it for granted. But especially the green and blue, there seems to be a lot of green and blue or green and purple.
Yeah, this one's green and purple.
Yeah, very nice. And look at those red and blue and the big fluffy ones. Wow. Cool.
Look at the little guy there.
What is it? What are we looking at?
Blenny.
Oh
Right?
yeah. I can just
Yeah.
see him peeking out over the acan.
Yeah. He's not shy no more. Now,
Oh, that's cool.
even when I feed the tank, he almost come and eat from my hand.
Huh.
You want to see
Straight.
another cool little guy? Right here. Right in the rock.
The barnacle blenny.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, those things are so cool.
Yeah.
Reef Spy had those. Like a lot of them.
Yeah.
We haven't heard from him in a long time. I hope he's okay. Straight Reefer says acans love being on a rock or a flat tile. So ATF is thinking about groups of different colored Cyphastria, Leptocerus, Leptastria, Samicora, others. You could put encrusting Montipora in that category because there are a lot of really nice ones that aren't plating, because plating ones are really hard to position in a smaller tank, because if they do well, they start going really, really big and you got trouble. But encrusters are, I find anyway, encrusting ones are a little slower growing.
Which one?
Encrusting Montipora. Can you think of any other encrusting corals? Favia. Favias are encrusters, yeah.
What else? Huh.
Oh, we got Brenda Arundel. Hello, Brenda. Yeah, ATF is admiring your acans.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, you've caught them pretty much. Leptocerus, Leptastria, Samicora. I've never had a Samicora. You can get Porites, and Porites, of course, are the home of the Bisma worms. Ask Michael Lee. He can tell you all about that. Oh, and Chalice. Robert Porman says Chalice. That's the other one. Yeah. And of course, chalices are the ones that you really can't let get too close to others. And then there's Pavona.
Pavona, yeah.
Pavonas and Hydnophora, the ones that don't have the long tentacles.
The leptos.
Yeah, Leptocerus, Leptastria.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's some types of Goniopora are encrusters with really, really tiny polyps that look like Leptastria, but the polyps are a little bigger and the way they grow is a little different, but they will encrust out over an area.
Oh, another encrusting one that a lot of people hate is green star polyps.
Green star polyps, yeah.
They
Keep them
a lot.
Keep them on their own island, man.
Yeah. Keep them
You
away
know,
from those nice, expensive corals.
yep. And you know what else encrusts? There's a type
I
of
love them.
encrusting gorgonian too.
Yeah.
That looks like the corky sea finger, except it's an encruster.
Yep. It was the kind of like beach, right?
Yeah. Yes. It looks almost the same.
And I've been trying to get rid of it, and it just still comes back out of nowhere. It's hard to see, but it's right under that chalice right there. Right where the
Oh,
you know.
yeah. So did you try to glue the chalice on top of it and it just got out?
Yep, and it just got out. Yep.
Oh yeah, and ATF says blue clove polyps. Those things. Oh man, I made the mistake of having those in my tank. God, those things get everywhere.
But green star polyp, I love green star polyp.
Yeah.
I love corals, but
you got DNT metallic green stars over there, don't you? Back right corner. Yeah.
I got a few in this little corner right here.
Yeah, they're nice. Oh, look there's the blenny, tail spot blenny. Out in the middle. Looks nice. Oh yeah, turbinaria. Hey, WVU reefer. Turbinaria will encrust. The types that have the larger polyps, and I was just looking at these last night in the coral book, and I cannot remember the species, but they have a smooth skin, and the polyps come out of angled kind of bumps on the skin, and they kind of grow out on a bit of an angle, but then they have little flower-like polyps. Zoanthids are encrusters too, right?
Yeah.
And that one will encrust. It's pagoda or cup coral. It will also kind of plate and form a large disc or a cup. The Turbinaria reniformis is the one that has tiny polyps that are usually like a bright yellow or neon green on a purple skin, and I have one of those. That thing is crazy, and it doesn't encrust. It just plates out, and all the edges get all frilly and they turn back on themselves, and it's beautiful. So I'm going to be interested to see what happens when I put it in the new tank. If I put it in such a way that it has an opportunity to encrust, I'll be interested to see if it actually does. Yeah.
That'd be nice, yeah.
ATF says, so blue clove is a no-no. I have 4 to 5, and he has 4 to 5 morphs of GSP. Cool. The thing about the blue cloves is they, like in my mind, they make it impossible for other things to grow on the rock, and they're very, very fast growing. So if you put them, let's say, in among acropora in order to fill in the space, the acropora have a really hard time encrusting where the polyps are. The blue clove polyps don't, like there's an edge where they fight each other. So it's like anything, I guess, depends what you want to put together.
Definitely.
Yeah. Where did you get the book from, ReefGrrl? This is Jen Viron's Corals of the World, and my husband and my daughter got together and bought me the books for my birthday at the same year that my husband gave me the Red Sea tank for my birthday. I guess about 4 years ago now. And they had to buy it used. I'll put the title up here and everything if you want to look for it. It can be found. Let me just edit this.
ReefGrrl, I'm gonna get off because my phone is dying. I don't want to leave you.
Okay.
I'm gonna put it to charge, but I'll be listening.
Okay. Thanks, Hector. It was great to see you.
No problem. I stay
awesome. Okay.
Okay. Bye, everybody.
Yeah, good night. J.E. and Viron, Corals of the World. Yeah, it's a 3-volume set. Sometimes if you look up, I guess I better put it up there. There we go. Sometimes if you look up certain species of coral, the result on Google will be from an online version of Corals of the World. J.E. and Viron, that's the name of the guy, the author, and then Corals of the World is the title. 3 volumes. The thing weighs about 25 pounds because it's old style book with thick glossy paper. Each volume has around 400 and some pages, 420, and completely indexed. The only drawback is that it's scientific names that are used. It's not common names that we would use when we're talking about the corals that we have. For example, the fox coral is a Plerogyra, and I cannot remember what specific species mine is, but there are lots of different ones. It's actually a Euphilia. So it's a good way to learn the scientific names of things, but you can't really look things up based on the common names that we would normally use if we're talking among ourselves or if we're looking at buying something from an LFS or online. Pavona is one that gets used commonly. That is also the species, but there's so many different kinds of Pavona as well. Or Hydnophora, Acropora, you know how many zillions there are. Like, yeah, it's... So that's the only drawback. They don't die. Oh, hey, there's Pat Murphy. Hey, Pat. How's it going? Pat had a huge upgrade on his RODI system this week. Okay. Certain Duncans will encrust or branch out. Yep. ATF says, oh, comments jumped. Rock is going to look great. You're giving me great ideas. That's cool. That's cool. And there's lots of suggestions in the chat. Certain scroll or pagoda corals will encrust. Yeah, the ones with the larger polyps, for sure. They don't die at all. I'm not sure what that refers to. Hey, Chimp the Reefer. Oh, the blue clove polyps. Yeah, they will survive under a mat of cyano and no light. You know how I had to get rid of them? I had to cover them with coral glue. That was the only way I could get rid of them. I scraped them off rock with a wire brush. Then I put it back in the... I covered areas that I couldn't really get. I used a magnifying glass and 2 times reading glasses to get really right in there. I learned what they look like on a rock because they're not really that obvious because they're small. And then I would load up a crevice with coral glue to entomb them, put the rock back in salt water on a frag rack or in a corner to keep it away from everything. As soon as more came out, I would pull it out, wire brush it, rinse it, put any more glue on if I needed. It took a long time, but I eventually did eradicate them. Yeah. Send you a pic of this new tank. Oh, cool. Here we go. Going to send you a pic of the new tank, see what I've got ahead of me, but you've all thrown out some great ideas. Oh, that's awesome. Said about to order it on Amazon. Straight reefer. What's he talking about? Probably about an ATO, an RODI system. Have you heard of... Yeah, I can't remember it's a Biomics. Oh, geez, there's Alex G. We got to bring him in. Yes, that was on BRS as well. And I'm going to follow up on that, but I don't know that it's going to be easy in Canada. The water test you can send for testing bacterial diversity. Okay, Alex. Alex has been playing with glass today. There he is. We get the update.
I just got done doing something that I should not have done by myself.
Oh dear. Was it successful?
Yes, but did not go according to plan.
Oh, man.
Some things got water on them that were not intended, but it won't hurt anything. Huh.
Mm-hmm.
Is it very noisy on my mic?
No, it's a little
Watery?
yeah, yeah, maybe that's it. That's one of the things that got water on, right? Oh
Yeah,
dear.
there's a little more water than there was before. So, oh. So this
Oh,
one's
book.
the 150 is refilled,
Oh
and
my.
it's been re-leveled because I
Yep.
had to drain it. I had to drain it down because I needed the water for another tank. So, but
Cool.
this tank's going good. The only issue I found that I'll have to toy around with is when I turn the pump off, because the UV sterilizer's on it too. It's not. It hasn't had enough pressure to purge the air out of it, so I have to toy around with that a bit.
Oh.
So, not a bad thing necessarily, because I mean the tank will be okay for a while, but because there'll be a recirculation pump in here too. But that was something I noticed. So I don't know. Maybe I'll use that ugly word, a check valve or something, to hold. Well, I don't
Well,
even know yet.
you know what? You do what you have to do to fix a problem until you can do it right, right?
Yeah, I think if I valve off my UV a little bit, maybe that's been how I jump start it. So,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but yeah, the reason you're hearing a lot of water though is because this is
Oh,
now full and running.
whoa. Wow. This is the frag tank?
No, this is the refugium.
Oh, the 700.
Yeah. So,
Jeepers.
and where's my flashlight?
Wow.
Hold
So
on.
did you have sort of like spraying water or was it just spilling water?
No, I picked this canopy up by myself and put it on there.
Oh,
Yeah, probably wasn't a good idea.
oh boy. So are you going to
It,
be suffering tomorrow?
I might be a little bit. It's quite large, and it was down here in a big rectangle, and I thought I put it on sawhorses, and then I lifted one end and got the corner leg on and had a board across, and I was like, I'll just pick up this side and pivot it over.
Yeah.
Except I did not anticipate that leg falling off the side of the tank. Two of them going for a swim, and at the same time, me going, oh no, I have this unwieldy object that I can't let go of, and I have to keep going, and I can't call for help because my phone's not on me. So I was listening to your live stream while I was doing this, and I'm like, well, this is going to be a fun story, and I'm glad I filmed it because it's going to make for some really funny YouTube footage.
Cool. Yeah, kind of
So,
like when I was working on a water change on Mollywood and I set the jar on the back corner of the stand with the door against it to hold it there because the jar is this big and the corner's like this big. So the door was holding it there and I had the stool in front of the door and I wasn't even thinking and I moved the stool and the door moved and the whole thing went right down on the floor upside down.
oh,
But I didn't swear. Well, I might have said, I think I said, "Oh crap."
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not really sure if I used any language when this happened. I dented some plastic, but I could fix that. So, but
Yep.
yeah, so the canopy was the last thing. I got the tank filled this week. So far, so good.
Nice. Yeah.
And now that I say that, I'm going to go and check the one thing that I'm more worried about than anything else, which is my bulkhead connections.
Oh yeah.
And there's no water and there's no puddle. So you can
Cool.
see my lovely plumbing lines that go all the way down to the 265.
So how on earth would you get in there if you had to?
So I could actually fit between here.
Okay.
And I put a clean out in here
Yeah.
and a clean out here.
Right.
This one will spill the water, but this one, at first I was like, ooh, I don't know. But then I figured if I have to drain the line, I could just put a piece of vinyl tube down there and siphon it out.
Right.
So, and if it's that bad, I'll just cut it a little further down and put a union in it.
Robert Porman says, I need a 700-gallon refugium.
Yeah,
I
just
love it.
if you do that, just don't try to put the canopy on yourself.
Yeah. Ask for help.
It's got its underneath moisture barrier, and then it's got its umbrella above it. So,
yep.
Because there's a water, my house water line runs above this, and my diabolical plan is that, well, I'll try to hold it up here and see if you can see, but there's some PVC and it's like a big tent.
Yep. Yep.
So as long as it's not like the whole water line going,
yeah,
it should hopefully spill it off without coming into the tank.
Right.
So
holy smokes.
I did that on the 400 too, which that canopy is still on the ground. So that one I will get help with though.
Yeah. Yeah. Or if it's like our house, where we are now, you can hear the water running in the sump from the fish room, which I'll explain in the video when I do it, why I might make changes to how I have that thing set up. I was showing everybody earlier the filter floss and the trash can and all that. But I can stand in the fish room and shout as loud as possible. You can't hear it up here. Just because of the way it's all built. Yeah, it is good. Like the house is like the acoustics in this house, or whatever you would call it, it's really quiet. And
my wife was just asking, hey, where is this tank at in relation to our bedroom again? And then, are we going to hear that? And I'm like, we shouldn't. I could silence it. So
yeah.
And then I got this done today too.
Oh, so yeah.
The glass is now in the 400.
Nice.
So this was the morning project. So, and it's funny, it'll be ready on April 3rd, 2021 or 4321.
Oh. So that's the date you plan to put water in, because you have to wait for the RTV to set and all that kind of thing.
Yep, that's 2 weeks after it's been set. So
cool.
I will say this one was a lot easier since I've already done one that was bigger. So
well, that's a good reason to start with a big one, because then everything else seems easy.
Well, it wasn't meant to be that way.
No, that's right, because the glass broke. Yeah.
We don't talk about it. It's behind the tank of shame.
Oh. You can turn it into a coffee table.
Yeah, we'll see. There's about 3 feet of it that's salvageable. So one day.
Yeah.
But Yep. So nope, it went in pretty easily though, and my LFS came and delivered it, so that was good. They helped me get it in, and
nice.
So, and then there's the canopy for that one that's ready to go. So
you and 6 friends.
Just my wife and I should be sufficient. So maybe a little different method of doing it.
Yep. Yeah, my son.
That one though, at least it can go straight up and have legs on both sides. The other one had to turn 90 degrees and go on, which was much more difficult. So
oh boy. Yeah, my son-in-law came and helped my husband put the boards on the ceiling to mount the lights. And there are 3 layers of crisscross 1x2s. No, 1x4s. And there's a 2x6. I forget. But he needed space above the flat platform that the lights are going to be hung from. So he developed this crisscross. And part of the reason for that is that the location of the rafters was such that to drill right into them, those boards were not going to be in the center of the tank. So he put that layer on so that he could drill right into the rafters with, like, I don't know, 5-inch screws or something, who knows. And we didn't have the foresight to take a photograph when the house was being framed of which direction they were going. So he had to use, like, whatever that, he
Little
found
stud
something
finder.
out. You know what works great as a stud finder is a little magnet. If you can get
looking for nails or screws.
for nails, yep. If you can get those, is it Two Little Fishies or Innovative Marine had those really small magnets that are so strong you can't get them apart. So they're virtually useless because you can't use them because they're so strong. So
Yeah,
I
have some of those for other purposes.
Yep. So I bought
You
a
can
bunch.
get in trouble with them.
It's true, they're dangerous. So I bought a bunch on sale because I didn't know this until I got them home, and I go to open the package and I can't get them separated. So anyway, he found using one of those was a good way to find where the studs were. And that's what he did. So that layer went on. So then another layer had to go across to act as a spacer because the hooks are actually bolts that stick up through the platform and have nuts on the other side to hold the lights. And then another spacer the other way to hold the apron thing that's going around I don't know. It's pretty crazy, but my son-in-law came over and helped him with that. And between the two of them, it took them under an hour to get the whole thing installed. And it would have taken him all day if he'd had to do it himself, or, got me to help him because I'm borderline useless when it comes to stuff like that. So
Supervise. You could just be a supervisor and direct.
right. I can tell you when it's straight or not straight.
Did I say left? I meant right.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, hey, Ugly Man's Reefing. Nice to see you. And Diacanthus is here. Glad you could join us. Yeah. Well, we're getting there. And boy, you're moving along like you really are. So when are you going to move your casket contents into here?
Well, so now that I have the glass installed here, after this tank sits for 2 weeks, I am going to go ahead and fill it. I got to run my plumbing, which I've got a plumbing trestle that I'm making.
Right.
So these are going to go all the way from the wall there down, and then once you get behind there, they'll kind of all merge together for that 265.
Mm-hmm.
So there'll be two 2-inch drain lines for the frag tank, a 4-inch drain line from the display, a 4-inch duct line for the dehumidifier, and then there'll be 1.5-inch line, and I've decided to upgrade my return line to a 2-inch. So for the main return will be a 2-inch, so that'll go on this too. So
right.
But
cool.
I gotta get my 2-inch drain lines run from this 400 over, but I won't be able to terminate those connections and glue them in to the tank until it's half filled.
Oh.
Because the bulkheads are back here.
Uh-huh.
But you can see the pond liner is really loose right now because I kind of pulled it back for the glass, but this side's all folded up, so there's multiple layers on the sides.
Mm-hmm.
But the back is a single layer. The concern I had, and it was pretty true in the 700 when I did it, was that if you try to put the holes in the pond liner while this tank is dry and has no water in it,
mm-hmm.
it's almost impossible to put the proper amount of tension to flatten out the pond liner. So your hole is not going to be where it needs to go.
And it'll be ragged.
Yeah, and what I want to do is fill the tank to 12 inches, which will be the first day. I'll fill it halfway. And then once that's done, I'll go ahead and get the pond liner pulled tight to where it needs to go. Which it's also another thing is that my threaded rods that have to go through are also going to have to poke holes.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing. I need it to be properly tensioned where it's not.
Yeah.
I'm not stretching it. It's just pulling it so it'll stay flat and doesn't have many or any wrinkles on it.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
but my one challenge is that my 2 water storage tanks that are supposed to go here are missing in action. And I'm not very happy about it because,
Oh dear.
well, I had inquired as to when they would be ready from the manufacturer. And the manufacturer came, or the place I ordered from went to the manufacturer and said they'll be ready in May. And I said, okay. When I look at your website, it says you have them in stock. So do you have them in stock somewhere? And they said, well, yes, we do, but you didn't order the stock tanks. You ordered from the manufacturer. I said, okay, well, can I change that? Because I'd like them sooner than later. And they said, okay, pay the difference in shipping and we'll do that for you. And I said, okay. And then they were like, well, I called someone, they verified the tanks are there, they'll ship them in 72 hours. I was like, great, wonderful. Well, I received my 7-inch lid for my one tank, but my water storage tanks, I got no shipping info on. So I emailed them and finally got a response and they go, oh yeah, sorry, they're not in stock. And I'm like, well, did you cancel my order with the manufacturer because it was 10 to 12 weeks out with them? So am I going to be at the bottom of the list again? So I got a call. It sounds like they're still doing the order because they were like, well, we could substitute. And I'm like, it's a doorway tank. I need it to fit down my doorway. I can't.
Yeah.
They had bigger doorway tanks, but I'm afraid I wouldn't be able to fit them down my stairs.
Yeah.
So I said, no, that's what I need. So I'm gonna plumb this in and put in a couple of I'm just gonna lay out on the ground where those tanks are gonna go on their footprint with some cardboard or wood or something. And I'm gonna approximate where I should have to make valves and plumbing for them because that's gonna be the water change tanks. So I need to be able to isolate them, and they're still going to be in the same 2-inch drains as the frag tank. I'll just be able to isolate with valves.
Yeah.
So
wow.
I'm guessing it's going to be sometime in the summer before I see those.
Yeah.
So,
and I understand the offer to substitute, but a lot of times they don't understand the research that goes into the selections that you make and the specific reasons why you need a specific product. You've already eliminated all the other products and this is the one. Sometimes there's an option, but 9 times out of 10, there's a reason that you need that specific product.
yeah, and I'll say the thing that annoyed me the most is I could have completely understood, hey, we messed up.
Yeah.
I didn't get that phone call or email to tell me that. And it took me going to them. So I have to give them a phone call on Monday and just say, I want to make sure everybody's clear on this and that I'm going to get my extra shipping money back because
exactly.
I paid, it was like $120 in shipping. I paid extra. I want my money back for that.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding.
Because if they try to tell me that this little tiny lid costs $120 to ship,
oh boy, that's crazy. So
let's just say it won't be a pleasant phone call for them. So,
ATF is asking, isn't a 700-gallon refugium called an automatic water change? I guess. And he's just wondering how often would you do water changes? We talked a little bit about how minimal you want them to be.
So that is really going to be dependent on how things go. I honestly feel that in the first, even when I get this running, even without those water storage tanks in here, I mean, there's well over 1,000 gallons here. It's
Mm-hmm.
going to be like 1,500, 1,600.
Yeah.
So, and we haven't even talked secondary sump getting built yet either. So, which I have to, that's the one thing I got to make sure is that if I build that, I have to make sure that I can get the water storage tanks past that to
Yeah.
get them back here.
Yeah.
'Cause there's enough room on the side here. I just got to make sure I can cut the corner here, which I should be able to.
Yeah.
But
But you could always lift them up and,
yeah,
you know, like a He-Man thing.
yeah, there's a will, there's a way, and like the secondary sump, well, it's going to have some electrical boards, but a lot of it's going to be flat. In either case, so once this thing's running, I mean, I don't think there's going to be water changes anytime soon.
Yeah.
Just because there's just not going to be a lot in it. I'm going to slowly add a few fish, and the corals, I don't think I'm going to add much right away because I'm going to be pouring I want to stabilize this out and just get it running.
Yeah.
And then once it kind of rebounds to normal, all the hair algae is all under control and growing in the refugium and not the display, and the corals are taken off. I'll probably get the reactor running at that point, and then, I might experiment too. I'm going to have to just look at cost and see what becomes cheaper. Is water changes cheaper, or doing something where I'm buying the raw elements and dosing?
Yeah.
So
yeah, exactly. Johnny Martinez says, Alex G is awesome. Each week is like a soap opera. You have to tune in to keep up with his project and comedy. Hey, Alex. That's hilarious. And Diacanthus says, yep, that's nuts. Brenda Arundel says, oh my gracious, a lot of research. Reefers are amazing how much research and love is done. Yeah, when you, so when you first started thinking of moving, is that when your idea of what you would like to do here came about? Or did you want to move in order to accomplish it? Like when did this kind of germinate?
So my wife and I had known that the house we were in was not going to be like more of a permanent home for us, just because when we bought that house, we had very little time because it was a relocation for work.
Right.
And I built those tanks. I didn't build them they were built very utilitarian.
Mm-hmm.
They were not built to look pretty. It was, the beauty was inside, not outside.
Yeah, get the job done.
She did not like going down in the unfinished basement to look at them. Right. And I was enjoying the tanks and they were doing good, but a lot of our house, we had a lot of wasted space because it's just the two of us. We had a bedroom that was just a junk room. Our formal dining room and living room, we never used them.
Yeah.
They sat empty. The most I ever used them is when the pandemic started and I turned the dining room into my office.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and then it was, I didn't want to move because our company was going through a merger. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know if I would have a new job someplace else or if we would stay where we were and buy a new house here. And things happened. And then, we just started looking for a house. But when I started looking, I knew what I was looking at when I was looking at houses. Mm-hmm. I had dreams and ideas in my head. And I just said, I want to do something at a different scale, and I want a finished basement this time, so that my wife can enjoy it more. And then there's just what I find with the scale, it's not just about a big tank. It's as I progressed into the size tanks that I had, is that you start to see everything behaves different. Yeah. And I can also have kind of odd attention spans with things. So when there's a lot of things to look at, I might focus on one thing for a while. And if I get tired of that, I can look at something totally different.
Yeah.
And with something like the last system, it was like I never got bored with it because it was like, well, I don't want to look at the reef today. I want to see some big fish. Oh, well, we'll look at
There
this
they
thing.
are. Yeah.
And then, things starting to breed and just the growth and evolution of that system. And I don't know. I like building things too. So,
And when an opportunity comes along, it feels like wrong not to follow up on it, because it's like anything, it's a progression in the hobby. It's just getting everything to where you want it and then some, and I don't know how long it's going to take me to mature the tank I'm getting, but the last one at 3 years, I loved it. Everything was doing so well. Okay, not everything was doing super well because there's a lot of fighting starting to go on because of lack of space. So
mine was jamming, and that's what I tore it to.
yeah,
It was like,
I know
it was hard to do,
like
but
it reaches the peak and then you disassemble it all. It's crazy. It
was
seems crazy.
I think the bigger challenge for me is that I thought we would move from one house directly to another, and I could buy myself some time to do. I was going to make, like I made, as you refer to it, the casket or the sarcophagus or whatever.
Yeah.
I was going to make 2 of them the same size of the tanks that I have.
Mm-hmm.
And I was literally going to go and build those, test them. And then the idea is that I buy a new house, I get into it.
Mm-hmm.
I basically buy myself extra time at the old house and give myself a couple of weeks to move everything and just do a tank to tank transfer. And then I could take my time and build everything. But with the new house, it suddenly became I can't do that. I have to sell everything or try to keep some things, and lesson learned not to try and keep as much stuff as I did, but hard lesson, but happens.
It's the only way you learn. And if somebody's, has paid attention to what's gone on for you, they might do something a little different and maybe not have it happen. There's so many different places you learn things. Yeah.
Oh, that's why I like sharing stuff too. It's the hardest part about this hobby is sometimes looking at what someone's built and you're like, wow, that's really impressive looking. And then, well, how the heck did they do that?
Yeah.
And if sometimes it's a lot of hard work, or other times it's, oh, well, they pay a service to do that. So then you go, well, who's that?
Exactly. All they do is feed the fish. Yeah, I know. Oh yeah. So what kind of shape is your 20,000 gallon tank going to be?
It will be less than that in size.
Okay.
So
I had to try.
I can confirm it will be less than 20,000 gallons.
Okay.
So, well, what were we talking about?
I was trying to get you to disclose some information on how big yours.
Well, it'll be in the finished basement, and it'll be quite large.
And I was just wondering if you're going to do anything with the shape. Are you looking at doing a bull nose or?
I will talk about that a little bit. So, I am going to. It will be one tank, one continuous tank that's got a divider in it. That it'll be removable to be cleaned, so there'll be technically 2 of them. So there will be a big fish section like last, instead of a big fish tank, it's just big fish tank, and it'll be 1/3 of the tank will be for big fish, and 2/3 will be reef this time. That's the difference.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So it's going to be at this point, the plan is that it will be L shaped.
Nice.
So it will be against the wall. In part, it will be like a little divider, and in part, it'll be peninsula.
Right. Cool.
So I'll get a lot of the dream things I've always wanted peninsula. And I've always, there's a lot of different things that I wanted to do with this tank. So I'm trying to accommodate them all.
Yeah.
So it's going to take time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you don't, it's not the kind of thing you want to rush. I was
No.
talking to my LFS guy about my tank, and I think I told you guys last week the glass was being polished. And since then, I found out that that means it has been assembled, because the last thing they do is they polish the glass and,
Okay.
Take all the beveled edges and all that kind of thing. And they're just waiting on the stand. So it's very close. I mean, I'm assuming it's very close. And by that, I mean within 2 weeks, maybe, to when they can ship it. And so my husband was getting a little panicky, thinking, oh my God, like I still haven't done the light thing and this and that. And we got to plan this and all of that. And I just said, like, we're in total control here. It can come and sit in our garage
Yeah.
as long as it needs to until we're ready. Because the last thing I want to do is try and move ahead too quickly when we're not quite ready and we make poor decisions because of it. And I told the LFS guy, like, I am in no way pressuring for something to come sooner than later. I want a good job. I would much rather have the guy take his time and not feel pressured, because then I know I'll get a better job out of it. So, but it would be nice to have a time frame for moving the tank, like when I
Yeah.
can phone up and organize somebody to actually come and bring it from the garage into the house. So 6 of one,
Yeah.
half dozen of the other. I don't know anyway. It doesn't matter that I don't know when the tank is coming, because even if the tank gets here, we may not be ready. So
Yeah, my biggest fear with my build, or I should say fear, but biggest challenge is going to be getting the glass into the basement.
right, block and tackle time. Yeah.
And I as I think about it more, I'm like, it won't be that difficult. It will just be a tedious job that just has to be taken slowly.
Yep.
And I somehow have the feeling that, depending on how it goes, it might not get done in a day.
I was just thinking that you want to
it-
make sure you've got a phone downstairs and a phone upstairs in case you're on the wrong side of it when you can't get past it.
Well, and that I'll have to have some people over, because
Yeah.
there's just no way.
Yeah.
It's too heavy. It's too tall. It's just too unwieldy. And even with pulleys and
Yeah.
different methods to make it lightweight and maneuverable, it's still going to take some just brute force. And that's why when I get to that point, we will see if anyone, whoever I order it from, if it's an aquarium manufacturer, they might say, hey, for a couple extra bucks, we'll get it in your basement. I'll be like,
Mhm.
okay, are you going to take responsibility of it if you break
Yeah.
it?
Are you bonded and insured? Yeah.
If you're going to tell me you're going to take responsibility if you break it,
Mhm.
maybe I'll pay your money.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, this is it. I don't want to mess around with that. I mean, we could go out and buy the suction cups and get together 5 or 6 people who are, strapping young lads, I guess, whatever. There's builders all over the subdivision. I'm sure we could round up half a dozen of them and pay them some money to come and do it. But I want experts to do it. I know nothing about this. I understand I have to get a sheet of plywood, or I have to cover the stand with plywood and then with some type of foam. But I don't know, I have to find out specifically a name brand and a thickness and get the right kind of foam that the guys that are going to install it from the LFS normally use. So they're working with what they know, and get that thing set properly, because I don't even know how that's done. Like, they've got to bring it in sideways because it's 60 by 66, but it's only 21 inches deep. So they got to bring it in sideways. I'm assuming they have scissor jacks, or no idea. So
it's making me think of some of the tank moving jobs I used to do. And
yeah.
the funniest one I ever did is we got to an office, and I was asked to assist with another aquarium maintenance company's install. They were tank delivery is what we were doing. And it was a 240 gallon acrylic tank. So it was 8 by 2 by 2.
Yeah.
I think that's about right. It had an acrylic stand as well that was even larger. And, my buddy that owned the company, the maintenance company, and I was his helper. We're going over to this place, and he's like, "Oh, it's gonna be real easy. We rented a truck, we picked it up." He's like, "All we got to do is go over there, put it in the elevator, take it up to the 3rd floor, and it's like right there." And I'm like, "Okay." So you get there, and the first thing you do is you go in and you go to see where it's got to go. So we plan the route, and I get in there, and I'm like, did you measure how high this elevator is?
I was just thinking that.
It's like the tiniest elevator I've ever been in my life. And he measures it, and it was like 7 feet tall. And I'm like, it ain't gonna fit.
And they didn't have a freight elevator?
Nope.
Oh boy.
They had tiered staircases though.
Okay. How many floors?
3.
Oh, you got lucky then.
And it wasn't 8 feet wide down the tiers. So yeah, it was funny because the guy who it was his client, he was freaking out because he's like, "Oh my God, can't believe I didn't measure the elevator." I'm like, "It's okay." I was like, "We can do this. It's just going to take a little while." And just slowly got it up. I mean, it took a long time.
Yeah.
I did help remove a 400 out of a house that it was really weird. My buddy was hired by an insurance company to get the aquarium removed because the owner of the house was in jail because he had tried to set the house on fire and claim insurance money. So,
geez.
Yeah, I guess as I recall, the person had poured gasoline in a bunch of closets and like set them on fire. But it was a really old house that had plaster walls.
Okay.
So it made a lot of smoke and it burned the wood floor, but it never lit the whole house up. So obviously the fire department got there. They knew what was going on right away, but there was a 400-gallon tank that had, I guess it had like African cichlids in it.
Mm-hmm.
But when my buddy went to look there, it was like the water was like black.
Oh
Because of all the
man.
soot and the smoke. So he was like trying to drain it out, and he's like, it had been just sitting there for like a month or 2. There were still fish alive in it.
Oh my God.
So he got those all out, and then we had to hire a moving company, and they put ramps the whole length of the staircase. And I don't know, it was not the best of ideas because it barely cleared the door, and it was like if we would have let it, we almost lost it on the stairs.
Yeah.
It would have like ran over like 3 of us and probably would have killed us.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just remember I was like, how did they even get this down here? And we had to remove it and take it to some insurance warehouse. It was really weird.
Wow. Well, luckily I only have one step from our front sidewalk. There's one step and then the porch, and then there's the threshold over the door, and the fish room is immediately to the left. So my expectation is that there'll be plywood involved to get up the steps on some kind of a dolly or something. And then once they get it in the door, they have to get it in the room and then turn it, flat and get it on the stand. And that's why I want professionals, because at this point, there's so much money into this thing. At this point, I just want to get it done right. If it cost me several $100s to get it done right, it's money well spent.
Yeah, it's moving aquariums is always a very stressful job.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Not just for the movers, but the homeowner usually or business owner, because
Yeah.
it would vary from the I don't really care what you do to my personal favorite was moving a 150-gallon tank that was like extra thick glass, and it was a very wealthy person we were moving the tank for. And we got to their new house, and it was a multi-million-dollar mansion, and we got there, and the owner's like, well, you could take the staircase on the left down to the basement or the staircase on the right down to the basement. You know what, though? This is brand new ultra white carpeting. I don't want you to get that dirty carrying an aquarium in here. So why don't you walk down the slate steps on the side of the house to the walkout basement and come in through the sliding glass door? So it was winter. It was wet and icy on the slate steps.
Of course.
And there was no landscaping done. And I'll never forget, we got over there, and the guy was standing there at the door, like the door wall entrance there, and he wouldn't open the door for us. We're holding a 300-pound plus tank, and he wouldn't open the door. He just stood there, and I just was like, really? So my buddy had to reach behind him, open the door, and then as soon as we opened the door, the guy's like, take your shoes off. So we had to take our shoes off because he's like, it's muddy out there. I don't want your dirty feet in the house. And I'm just like, we had towels and stuff down, I think, already. But he's like, no, I need your shoes. Gotta come on. So we were like trying to wield this giant tank, and it was a nightmare. That I just, my buddy told me, he's like, the guy's kind of an a-hole, and I go, yeah, I can see that. And then it was one of the only times that I would have, it would have been a real tragedy if one of their kids had slipped, fallen, and drowned in the aquarium while we were working.
Yeah. Wow.
I have never met more annoying children in all my life.
That's terrible.
The kid's mom came up. He said, are they bothering you? Oh, no, they're just fine.
Yeah, what do you do?
I only remember as I told my buddy, I was like, I hope that you charge this guy a lot of money. And he goes, oh, yeah, I like quadrupled this rate because he's an And I was like, good. He's like, you're getting paid extra for this.
Well, if I remember right, Ryan from BRS with his 360 getting it into his house had a similar thing. Moving the tank in the winter, they had to slide it down a hill to get it around the back to the walkout, if I remember right, if that was him.
I remember he had to disassemble a fence too, like a steel fence or something.
Yeah. Oh, hey, good night. Good night, Hector. Thanks for coming by. And hello, Tyler D. Okay, sorry.
No, it's all right. Yeah, it's always those kind of what ifs when you get there and you're like, how did you get this in here in the first place? Or
yeah. Well, it used to be pianos. Like, how did they get this piano downstairs? Like, did it go in when the house was being built in 1875? Like, it's always those houses.
Yeah, or you hear, I don't know. Okay, that's helpful.
Crazy man.
I never encountered one we could not move. I had some challenging ones I had to deal with, but I never had to move any like really crazy out of the wall ones.
Yeah.
So I got a little lucky with that.
Yeah. I'm expecting the move in of this tank is going to be straightforward only because of the route. You know, I mean, short of us having built this house as a grade level access, which was an option, we did think about it. But the expense of that was unreal because they have to go so much deeper with the basement because they can't change
Yeah.
the grading outside. And as it was, we put in the extra high basement, which I love because when I'm down in the sump room, it feels so big and open. Because I think it's 8'4", the foundation, instead of 8 feet. So you end up with a full 8-foot height basement above.
I
And
don't even know what mine is. I have to now. Now you're making me think I need to look.
so that's just it. Short of doing a grade level entry, this is probably as low an entry as you would get with just the 2 steps to the porch and then the door threshold.
Yeah, it doesn't sound too bad.
No. Hey,
So
B Speak. So we'll see. But you know, if I hire aquarium movers, they'll have aquarium mover tools. You know.
Yeah, my buddy brought the glass over. It's the suction cups, which I don't have a set of, was very handy once we were going to put it into the tank. So
yeah. Nice.
Yeah, it was funny because he's like, "How are we doing this?" And I was like, "I'm gonna pull the beam out." And he's like, "You want me to go over the top?" I'm like, "No." It's like, let's not take any chances with breaking this. It's like,
been there, done that.
They're not working now, but I had custom holders I had made up. So
yeah,
as soon as the glass would come in here, it could like rest against this and give me access. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you're really getting there.
Yeah, I figure though, hopefully, I'm thinking if I get this tank filled in April, I'm fairly confident at this point that sometime in April, hopefully, I could do the transfer.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not going to wait for the water storage tanks, and I don't need the secondary sump online for that. I just need this tank online.
Yeah.
I want it to run for at least 2 weeks, and I need to do an ICP test with fresh water. I'm going to hook up my UV sterilizers in line. I just got to put the bulb in it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to put the bulb on it because it's a little cloudy. There's just dirt in the water, but we'll see if the UV will zap anything.
Yeah. Are you heating it at all?
Not yet. I am waiting until my other thing that I needed this week arrived, which I have yet to unbox. But
oh yeah, speaking of unboxing, everybody, when I showed you guys the gyres last week, I asked if I should do an unboxing video, and a couple people said yes. So I did an unboxing video. I have the footage. I haven't edited it yet, but I have lights, I have pumps, I have a skimmer, and I have the gyres all together in one big unboxing video. So nice. I'm not going to make you sit through 4 different videos watching me open boxes because seriously, I can't really do much because I don't have anywhere to put them. So it's just a matter of opening up the box and kind of taking the pieces out and whatever. So it is what it is, but we'll see.
Yeah. So my dehumidifier showed up this week.
Oh, good. Because wasn't that sitting in a warehouse somewhere?
Yep. So they finally delivered it on Thursday. So I wheeled it down here. It's only like 70 pounds. So it goes downstairs real easy.
I bet.
So, but
gravity's your friend.
Yeah. So I'll get that hooked up this week. And then I'm not so worried about ducting it right away. But I'll get it ducked over the 700, and then I'll at least get it kind of pre-done for the 400.
Yeah, you don't have a lot of open moving water yet.
You'd be surprised though with that 700 and the 150 and the 265, my humidity. I've been running my old dehumidifier because it's at 60% right now.
Oh, really? Because ours has been down around 43 pretty consistently in that room, in that area.
Well, a lot of it is because it's all plastified, so all the humidity is being contained.
True.
Here. So yeah. I kick the dehumidifier on, it'll knock it back down to 50. So
yeah. Yeah, so you're right. I can't assume it's all good without continuing to check the moisture content in the wood.
Yeah, now that I looked at that and saw that it's up again, I'm gonna go plug this dehumidifier in. It'll go a lot quicker when the big one's in there, because
Oh yeah.
that dehumidifier is rated for 5,300 square feet.
Oh boy.
And even with my basement, my house, well, the house was 1,947, so about 3,900 with the
With the
basement.
basement, yeah.
So,
So 2,000 square feet. No, wait, 4,000 square feet plus a giant aquarium it's rated for.
well, and you figure that most of the house won't really need it. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
but yeah, well, the rest of the tank's doing okay though. So, I'm actually adding alkalinity and calcium to it again.
Oh, so things are growing. That's good.
Yeah, my top off, I'm doing 10 milliliters of Bionic with
Yep.
top off.
And
So-
how's the bubble coral doing?
Seems like it's stabilized. The
Cool.
parts that kind of receded back seem to have stopped, and it's just been a holding pattern. So
Hmm.
I just have to keep an eye on it and see what happens.
Yeah.
So
Well, I observed my bubble coral, which I had called Lucy when she was big and beautiful. I still call her Lucy. My theory is that the green wrasse kept spitting sand into her mouth, and she really, really started getting sick. So I took her out of the tank and cleaned up a bunch of bubble algae that was starting to grow all over the skeleton and all of this, and I put it in a different place. And it was holding its own. It's looking healthy, and I observed how they dropped their babies, because a section of the bubble tissue kind of started to form a little bit of a teardrop, and I expected that it would detach itself and then just float off somewhere, but it dropped on the skeleton and it stuck there.
Hmm.
So now I have a bubble that's maybe 2 inches, a bubble coral, with another baby beside it that's maybe a half an inch, that's actually fastened itself to the skeleton. So I'm going to be really curious to see what happens with that. I'll put it somewhere in the new tank that I can watch it really closely.
yeah, I think mine had dropped one. I hadn't really watched to see what happened to it though, because I've been trying to stay as hands off in here as I can.
Yeah.
And just letting it, it's kind of survival of the fittest in here right now. And that, I mean, it's everything's stable, and it's one of those like, I don't want to mess with what's going on because it seems like it finally balanced.
Yeah.
I just got to get it through another month and a half here, and
Yeah.
I should hopefully be able to get this done, get it running,
Yeah.
get it stabilized, and then once that's done, it'll be fine to just keep going.
Yeah. Well, the holding tank that I have has been up for 9 months now. It's been up longer than that. It's been over a year, but as far as having my reef in it, my reef has been in it for 9 months now. And I am seeing signs of decline. I have been in some of the corals, and I know it's because it's not ideal. Can't dose properly, I don't have a sump, can't run UV except in the canister. It just can't light it properly because of the brace. So many negatives against it. But in spite of all that, I'm amazed at how well the corals were doing in there. And it's one of those things where I just feel like it's at a tipping point. And you know how you feel sometimes you're solving the problem just in time. And that's kind of how I feel about it, is that much longer, and there's going to be a serious decline instead of a few things now and then looking like they're struggling.
Yeah, and that's why I'm like stable.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
So as long as everything's good, once I get a clear ICP test,
Yeah.
on the freshwater, I will add the salt in right away. And then once the salt is in, Well, I should put it this way. Once I get the dehumidifier running, I'll get the water heated up, and then I'll do an ICP test. And then as soon as that's cleared off, I will add the salt. And probably within a couple of days, I'll take a day or two off of work, and
Yeah.
I'll do the transfer. The one thing I am going to do, though, is the 150 gallon. I'm going to drain this tank. I'm not going to put salt in it, because I got a home somewhere between 100 and 150 gallons out there. I'm going to try and save as much water as I can,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm just going to dump it all into the. I'm going to put it
Yeah.
all into 150.
As long as
So,
you keep it circulated and heated, it shouldn't get
well,
skunky or anything.
and it'll go in line with the system, because the plan will be is
True. Yeah.
once I do the transfer, the Spanish hog's going to go in that 150, and then I'll kick the pump on, and then it'll be part of the system again. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's getting closer. It's definitely, with this glass in, that was definitely a big one to get
Mm-hmm.
out of the way. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's just, the secondary sump's not going to be hard. That'll be a real easy thing to build. So I'm not worried about that. And then the water storage tanks won't be hard either. That's just some plumbing, and that'll be done.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. It feels like there's stuff that takes so long, and that's what I felt like. There's so many days between steps of things that you have to do, and now all of a sudden it's happening faster, and then the tank will be here, and then it'll be a matter of getting the rocks in, getting the water in, getting the sand in, and then turning it on and connecting it to the sump and just seeing what happens with that. Because once it's connected to the sump and the water's circulating, because I've been curing the rocks, I fully expect that I'll be able to start moving whatever I want to move upstairs from the basement at whatever pace I want to go. Because the other decision I have to make is, how do you take Texas Holy Rock and break apart the 45 pieces that you cemented together so that you can break off all the rocks that are covered with nothing but algae? Because I don't want to use it in the new system except where I have to, because there's coral on it. That's where I have a lot of my encrusting corals. So I'm thinking, okay, do I get a tile saw and try and saw through the rocks with a tile saw just to break off as much as I can? Like I don't know what you could use for that.
well, I think it comes down to precision with that, because Texas Holy Rock, the problem with it is it's very dense, even though it's pretty holy, and
Yep, it is.
it's not gonna shatter. It doesn't have like a lot of stones will have like a cleavage to them that you can
Yeah.
cut against.
Nope.
It doesn't really have that in a lot of cases. So if you want to take a chance, you can get a sharp chisel, stone
Mhm.
chisel, and
Yep.
you could whack it that way. Or the other thing you could do is you could get use a tile saw, and if you can't get through it because it's too thick, just wherever you slice it, get
Mhm.
the hammer and chisel out and whack it on that line, and
Yeah.
it should snap it off.
Yeah, create some spots where you can put some weaknesses in it. I mean, I put pieces together. So I was thinking, if I could find those joints, that might be the place that I should work at. It's the Marco cement. Chances are it's probably softer than the rock. So I might be able to chip away at that and at least remove some of the pieces from each other. But it's so covered with algae in some spots, because I haven't had any herbivores in there for a long time. Lost the tang, unfortunately. So I'm bummed about that. But he was doing a great job. And until he went, the Blenny, haven't seen the Blenny in months. I have no idea what happened to him. So, it's time to get that stuff out of there. But I'm not sure I want to transplant rock into the new system that's covered with algae already. And it's the nasty stuff. It's turf algae. There is some bryopsis in there. And I know it's going to be inevitable that I end up with spores of that stuff. I know that. But, you know, when the time comes, I've had success with fluconazole before. Don't have any plate corals right now. So I feel comfortable using it if I had to, but I'd rather not. So we'll see.
Yeah, my first step in this 400. Well, there is one thing I haven't bought for it yet, which now that I have the glass in here, I could do it. Is I'm going to buy some thin acrylic,
Mhm.
and I'm going to line the pond liner with acrylic. So
Yeah.
the sea urchins or you
Mhm.
know foxface or whoever more so worried about sea urchins don't decide to say, "Ooh, EDPM pond liner tastes really good.
Mhm.
I'm going to shoot some holes through it."
They eat weird stuff.
So hopefully that'll be enough of a barrier there that I'm not,
Yeah.
as long as it's got a semi tight fit and it'll be okay. I just can't allow any big stuff to get in there to chew.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Until you do. Yep.
yeah, and
True
then
enough.
I'm not worried about it in the refugium because I'm not going to put any urchins in there. So, but
Yep.
yeah, that's the plan
What?
right now.
What? No parrotfish with their nice big teeth?
I tried one once and I should have known better. I was very young when I did that, but um, the only way I could see doing that is if my display was so full of coral and I couldn't keep up with it. Then I'd be like, all right, I'll buy some parrotfish and let them eat it. And
There's a thought. Wow. So I could conceivably maybe rent a parrotfish once I get enough big corals, like let's say 3-4 years down the road. So instead of getting in there and having to reach in 2.5 feet from on top of my platform to trim things away from each other, I could just get a couple parrotfish and hope that they trimmed where I wanted them to.
so you just gotta take it a little. You gotta take a more drastic approach with it. Instead of trimming, just get a hammer or a weight and just throw it at the corals, and that'll smash them up, and they'll regrow.
They will. True enough. Yep.
I hate to say, but I've heard of people doing that. They don't even try to cut it. They just hit it with a hammer and snap it.
Yeah. And then gather up the pieces and
make a bunch of crags and
yeah.
it'll regrow. I mean, I hope I
Well,
can get to that state one day.
well, when I had the Red Sea tank at the 3-year mark, I was seeing such massive growth on the acroporas that I had. Not all of them, because of course they're not all fast growers, but a couple in particular, the tort, the Miyagi tort, that thing was crazy. And it was hard to frag because the skeleton on it was so thick. And the same as the one that I call My Little Pony Frizzle, that's, I don't know what it is, but it's a pale kind of bluey green with peach colored growing tips and kind of brownish peach polyps. That one, the polyps come out like crazy. Well, the pieces I lopped off of that thing, it's grown right back. And that's in 9 months. It's as big as it grew in a year. It's grown back in 9 months. So there are some that really, really will grow fast. And, I have to bear that in mind. Like I've heard that about Red Planet. I really like Red Planet. I've never been successful keeping one, but I'd like to try again because now I feel like I know a little bit more than I did the last couple times I tried. But for example, Phil's tanks, Reef Keeper, his Red Planet is just a monster. And so that's another one. I'll have to be really careful where I put it so that I can give it lots of space to get big.
Yeah, I think the one I got to trim is this pink Japanese stereonepthia.
Yep.
It's invading my xenia, and I'm not liking that.
Yeah, because you have that different type of xenia, right? With the big polyps.
Yeah, I actually got to see if it attached to the. Come on, you got to attach to the shell here so that I could cut you off. I don't. It's one of those things where I'm like, oh, I don't want to do this before I move the tank, because I might end up trimming that though.
Yeah.
That one I could probably bear to do, and then
Well, and I guess the other thing, especially with your upcoming tank, is going to be scale, because that thing in your new display isn't going to look big for a long time. Just
no,
because of the scale of it.
no, it's probably gonna be it's gonna be a while before some things are. It's probably gonna look very empty for a long time.
Yeah. And in a
But
way, though, I remember when you first started putting corals and stuff in your other system, in my mind, it really didn't take that long to really fill up. I think there might have been a long gap between you documenting it and putting videos out. And it was like, I know things were going well, and then you had a couple problems.
yeah, I
And then,
went through a pretty decent coral crash, and it bounced back.
yeah,
It bounced back hard.
yeah, and big. And then all of a sudden it was like everything was huge and filled in, and yeah, so I really think that that's kind of what happens before you even really notice, because we're looking at it every day. And then all of a sudden it's like you look at a picture from 2 months ago compared to now, and it's what the heck happened?
Yeah, the other thing is too is that, well, with the 400 here, once I get everything kind of stabilized in here, I'm gonna frag a few things out just so I can get. I want to get like for this, it's like the stereo nepthias. I want
Mhm.
to get like 5 or 6 colonies of them started,
Sure. Yep.
so that
Yep.
when the display's ready, I'm not gonna just put one in. I'm gonna
Mhm.
put a handful of them in and let them all
Yeah.
start to grow and fill out, and
Yeah,
then
like a little forest.
I think
Yeah.
the bigger challenge that I'm going to have is, like, as much as I've grown to love zoanthids, the one thing I learned from the last tank is you just can't put them all in one big.
No.
Like, I loved my big flat piece that had zoas all over it, but the problem was is that the the nirvanas just took over and they were suffocating everything.
Yep.
And I think I have a solution for that, where I'm going to make like I'm going to call it like a zoa tree or something, where
Mhm.
I'm going to make something that it'll have rocks on it, but they're going to be like branches that you can remove.
Mhm.
So that way, if and shade it underneath or shade between them so that they can't cross into each other very easily.
Yeah.
And that way, if somebody does start to get a little misbehaved, I can remove the
Mhm.
rocks around them and isolate them a little bit more, hopefully.
Yeah. Make it modular.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because the problem is when you start, unless you have a lot of experience with zoanthids in general, you you don't know which ones are going to be the super successful ones until you see them growing for a while. And it's usually the ones that you really like that get killed off by the ones that are nice but not your favorites. Yeah.
Yep. Nope. That happened a bunch of times where I was like, "Oh, where'd those other ones go?" And I was like, "I
They
don't know
used
if
to
they
be
are. They're all gone."
they used to be there. Yeah. I had
So
purple monsters completely obliterate orange bambams. And I
I
think I might have one or two polyps of bambam because the purple monsters are traveling. And
yeah, I had a bunch of gobstoppers and bam bams that were in there, and some of it, like a lot of it is, it's like I can't really see everything that's going on the way that I want to.
yeah.
And again, it's just going to be well, let's just wait until
Mhm.
this goes a little bit more, and then I'll
Yeah.
try to deal with it a little differently this time around. And
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah,
once I get,
I'm go ahead.
I was going to say, once I can get that stuff separated out, then I can plan a little bit better.
Yeah. And well, that's what I'm running into with this move of the coral over here is the footprint of the 90 is 48 by 18. And I have a 150 that's probably got 120 gallons of water in it. And the footprint is 24 by 48. except that I can only use half of it because the lights over the front half, the back half, has the blue carbon bridge that holds up the shallow 50. So there are corals I can put back there that don't need a lot of light. So there are a few things I'll be able to put in there, but all of the pieces of the reef, the rocks, are going to have to go in this one small section that's essentially 24 across on the bottom and probably maybe 30 the other way. So things are going to be kind of jammed in, and that's when I have to pull the rocks out and see what I can do to remove sections that I don't want to have in there. And I want to have to do that. I'm going to have to do that in a rather quick time frame before the stuff has a chance to start spreading through the system. So I don't know. Maybe a matter of bringing something home, being prepared to cut it or chop it apart before I put it in the system. That might be the thing.
That's why I'm gonna, well, at least once I get it all in the 400 and it's situated, I'll chop some things up, and then that way when the main display eventually comes online, I can be like, oh, well, I'll just pull out a handful of corals out of here and toss them in there. And you know, I've got one friend that said when I'm ready, I'll have some SPS that he wants to use me to do backups with. And I was like, well, before you give me a bunch of stuff for backups, maybe let me try a couple first to make sure I don't kill them.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm still a long ways away from being a successful SPS keeper. I would say it's mediocre is where I'm at with that right now.
Yeah, I'm not good enough to take anything and grow it. I think some things I've been really successful with, the easier ones, one or two of harder ones, but I think it's just a fluke. And of course, they're not living now because I killed them with ammo lock. But you know, it is definitely a learning curve, and there's so much to learn. And I came to it late. I've only had 10 years experience, so there's still so much more that I don't know. All I can do is try and keep things stable. That's all I can do.
That's the thing. Most of my experience has been with LPS and softies. So,
you
know, and that's where that's the other thing that I will be able to do with a larger tank is that I could properly zone it with flow.
Yeah.
Because
exactly.
Even in the 400 before, it was getting challenging to properly control the flow in the SPS section versus LPS softy section, because I really didn't want to beat, like, the frog spawns and the hammers and the bubbles do not appreciate getting beaten to death. Torches don't care. They seem to love getting beaten to death.
Yeah.
But you know, it's just I really want to be able to have that space, and then have areas with sand and areas without sand, so that's not a thing either that becomes a concern. But we'll see once I start dabbling with a 3D printer and trying to make my own propeller pumps. We'll see how crazy I can get.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and I guess, you know, if you have in mind an L shape, that gives you one extra option for zoning, because controlling flow in a area like that and keeping it different than the rest of the tank is definitely a possibility. So,
well, the L, so basically when it becomes an L, that third of the tank that's the L will all be big fish. But there's going to be, I'm going to put some heavy water flow in for the big fish too.
Yeah.
The return, there's only going to be one return line, and it's going to drop on that side of the tank. And then the idea is the water is just going to go, you don't have to flow through the tank to leave it.
Yeah.
Yep. So, and then if one return's not enough, I have drain capacity to put a second one in.
Yeah.
So.
Nice. Well, I guess I should wrap this up. It's after 11. And I'm sure
Fun.
you're just about ready to go dry your phone out.
I didn't drop that in, luckily. That would make for an interesting live stream.
Wonder if it would sound gurgly.
You'd get some sharp sounds, and then, you know, if I'm yelling loud enough expletives, you might hear a couple of those come through.
Yeah, probably. Oh boy.
Or you'd see me in the window like this.
Yeah, you maybe need some sort of a panic button that's connected to an alarm upstairs, maybe.
I won't do that again. And well, I'm just going to tell my wife I'll make up a story. Like, no, yeah, I didn't need your help after all. I'm okay. It's good. Don't watch the video when I release it.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah,
Yes.
she doesn't watch my videos, so I'm okay.
She might surprise you. I'm quite surprised my husband has watched a few of mine now. He really didn't watch very much, but since he's been becoming a little more interested in the from doing research, he's run across people he likes to watch. So that's really good because he's learning, he's picking up a lot about the stuff that I talk about. He doesn't glaze over quite so much as he used to. And so he's watching a few more of my videos now. So I guess I better be careful.
Yeah, I do have to watch my Instagram posts and Facebook posts, though, because my wife will see those, and she'll be like, my favorite one is, what's that 700-gallon tank for? Why isn't that your tank? That's big enough. No, that's part of the filtration. What do you mean that's
right.
part of the filter? That was a big tank, but you need something bigger than that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. That's the idea. Yeah. Cool. Okay.
Right.
Well, thanks again for coming on because I know how tired you must be, and I really appreciate keeping up to date with what you're doing because it fascinates me, and it'll be great to watch as things move through the summer, for sure.
Oh yeah. No, it's gonna get interesting over here in the next few months. So.
Yep. Yep. Cool.
All right. Well,
then.
thanks for having me, and have a good night.
Yeah, you too. Good luck with your water storage.
Thanks. Bye.
All right. Good night. Okay. Well, it was great as usual to talk to Alex about what's going on. And thanks to everybody who stopped by tonight. We still got 20 people in here. So thanks for hanging in and hope you enjoyed it. We will be having the international stream next weekend on Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern. I will put out a video to remind you all of that. And hopefully we can get some reef keepers from around the world back in. And you know, you don't have to be from somewhere aside from North America to join in. If Sunday afternoon at 1 o'clock works for you and your tank lights are on, I would love to see what you got going on. So good night, everybody, and stay safe. And we will see you next week. I will be dropping my unboxing video Monday. All right. Take care.